Warning! The following video is over-exaggerated. Most opinions shared aren't accurate to my thoughts and feelings. I bet you're wondering why Mario is an elephant. The world may never know.
Hello!
What the hell's up with this logo? This Wonder text does not fit well. Bro, this promotional material uses a yellow Yoshi, but it's actually just a recolor from a Mario Party 9 render. Completely and utterly unplayable. 12 characters? What are you talking about? Yellow and blue Toad are color swaps, and Yoshi's just recolored 4 times. So that really gives us 8, which is still technically the most of any 2D Mario. So, good job, I guess. Why couldn't they have added someone cool like Rosalina, or Wario, or Waluigi? Yoshi being easy mode is so annoying. I can't believe they did this to him. And what's with blue and yellow Toad anyway? They use the same colors in the new Super Mario Bros. Games, but what do they have against red or green Toad? Nintendo, this is not okay. The bubble power-up isn't new, guys. It's just the blue baby Yoshi from New Super Mario Bros. U. I know you've been tricked, but don't worry, I got you. Animal abuse! Animal abuse! Someone call the cops! Oh, so Mario Bros. Wonder is allowed to have a cool badge system, but Paper Mario isn't. Okay, sure, whatever you say, Nintendo. There's no direct online play? Oh, come on! I wanted to play laggy-ass 2D Mario just like with Mario Maker 2. Bowser's the bad guy again? Way to spruce up the story. It's nice to have custom controls, but button mapping directly would have been better instead of being forced to go into the Switch UI. It's a little confusing to have these 10 purple coins, and also regular and miniature ones. Once you get them, they respawn as clear and only give you 3 purple coins, whereas the other purple ones infinitely respawn and always look the same. Why not have the big purple coins be different looking and just have them add to the purple coin counter, or just not add to them at all? Hurry Hurry is the stupidest level. Literally hold right and you win. Wow. The talking flower has nothing to say. Seriously, half the time he just says, hi, or that sure was something. Like, what is your purpose, dude? This flower is never explained in the story either. He exists to be annoying and that's it. The very first boss fight is basically like the new Super Mario Bros. Games, but slightly different. You all went wild on making the levels awesome, but the boss fights were slept on. You know, if Mario touching the flagpole instantly fixes the Poplin's house, why can't anything do the same? What's the difference between a bird landing on the pole versus an elephant? Where the hell did you get a hat, Peach? You're wearing a crown! So the flower gets stampeded and he survives. How? A badge that just gives you more coins? Is that really gonna make a difference at all? Elephant Toad with his beady eyes is genuinely terrifying. Bro, it's been like 5 seconds and I'm already seeing a wonder effect repeat itself. Castle Bowser is protected by literal clouds. Now, yes, they are cloud piranhas, but dude, they're clouds! That's all you got? So many of these Wonder Seeds are just the Poplin giving them to you for free. This happens 9 times. I like how the game still lets me shake my controller for moves. That's really funny that Nintendo's still living in 2006. How does Mario's hat not fly off when he's swimming? There's almost no gravity in the water. We're really gonna do emotes now? And really generic ones on top of that? I can't even triple jump! What? The search party levels can go to hell. All of them are so damn cryptic and annoying. Like, to find this flower coin, I have to jump at this completely random spot. How is anyone supposed to find this? Nabbit Goomba is cursed. Finally, I can live my long-lasting dream of being a f***ing cherry cake. Get used to seeing Bowser fire lasers at you. It's the same wonder effect for almost every airship level. And the so-called bosses in the airship have you running on a conveyor belt and hitting a button. Seriously, why are the bosses so lame? Safety Bounce is literally Peachette from Mario Bros. U Deluxe. The second boss fight is Bowser Jr. again. You can actually get duplicate standees if you're not careful. It's so stupid. Oh great, more jumping in the air like a dumbass looking for invisible blocks, my favorite!
Ah, they're copying you!
Is the fact that you're copying me really that funny? And the boss at the end of World 3 is... nothing! Yep, there is literally no boss at all. The Poplin just gives you the Royal Seed, and that's that. Parts of this game are starting to feel rushed. This enemy has Pika. Can someone get him help? No, Mario, killing him isn't the answer to his problems. Why is the Goomba so slow? Grow some frickin' legs, idiot! The flower is right there. Why am I not grabbing? Oh, I see. It's in the foreground. Oh, that's my bad. I should have known to just walk into the blue wall. How dumb of me. It's great that the Cosmic clones are back, but they're way too slow to be challenging. Bro, Luigi can push 3 walls like it's nothing. Don't get on his bad side. Captain Toad makes a cameo, but there's no Captain Toad levels. The next boss fight is Bowser Jr. again, but in the water. Seriously, all these fights have been done in New Super Mario Bros. This is so disappointing. Wow, plant be kinda thick? How many coins will net you a 1-up? My grandma knows the answer to this one. Who is Bowser's son? Man, I wish the answer was Lil Bowser. World 5's boss, yet again, doesn't exist. I like how these are shaped after foam finger hand gloves. They're #1 fans of the lava. Finding this flower coin took way longer than it should have. The World 6 boss is, kind of interesting, but it's still just fighting Bowser Jr. yet again, so not really. The lead up to the final boss is a freaking auto-scroller. Of course it is! Now, the final boss is really damn cool, don't get me wrong, but it's also way too easy. Unlocking the special levels can be cryptic. You have to go back to the Poplin House in World 3 and in World 5 to just unlock them, and there's no indicator of needing to do that. The post-game badges are pretty mid. We've got these 4 that just make it easier to get the elephant form or bubble power-up or whatever, which I guess is okay, but it's really uninteresting compared to the other badges. Then the last one is the sound-off badge, which is just different sound effects. I had to put in all of that extra work for a joke badge? I hope you have fun getting purple coins for all the standees, because you're gonna need thousands of coins if you want the final medal on your save file. And also if you want to get this black title screen instead of the white one. Wow, that's so cool. Yeah, okay, cool, yeah. The secret final level in the game wasn't even that hard. It only took me like an hour to beat, which I know sounds long, but no. I want to cry, Nintendo. Make me cry. Make me miserable. I want to weep and suffer like I did with Champions Road and The Perfect Run, please.
Wowie Zowie.
Finally, after 11 freaking years, we get a new 2D Mario game. And better, it's not a new Super Mario Bros. No, it's actually interesting and different this time. Oh, it's Castle Bowser and not Bowser's Castle. How can you not giggle at this? Not only is it funny, but all the characters shout Wowie Zowie when they transform. And better, the elephant is very versatile. You can ground pound heavier objects, hold water in your trunk to spray plants, and attack in a bunch of different ways.
Wonderful!
God, Kevin really knocked Mario's voice out of the park. We'll always respect and appreciate Charles Martinet's work, but this new voice work brings back the same zany energy from the 90s and early 2000s. Elephant Peach is adorable, just admit it. The controls are similar to New Super Mario Bros., but with a twang of momentum physics. So it's like if Mario Bros. 3 and New Super Mario Bros. Had a baby. I'm in heaven. Badges are such a big game changer. They make playing through levels a customizable experience. You can even switch badges after you die if you're struggling with a level. The star music slaps.
Go, go!
Look at how cool this fire flower animation is. The little details are everything. I wish I were a Daisy fan. I'd be winning so hard right now. Wonder abilities are genuinely surprising. You really have no idea what you're gonna get thrown into. From a massive fish eating the walls, to bouncing on rainbow bubbles, to walking on the wall in a different perspective. Purple coins work similar to how they do in Mario Odyssey. They can be spent at a shop for 1-ups, Wonder Seeds, standees, and badges, which is a fantastic use and great incentive to collect them. Look at how happy this hippo is. He's literally the best. These mini music levels are enjoyable little bursts. The hub worlds are great this time around. They have 2D and open segments that all link together, and are also filled with tons of secret areas. Mario Bros. Wonder is animated beautifully. It's one of the best aspects of this game. Every character is brimming with fun and expressive details no matter what they're doing. It's nice to see Nintendo finally catch up with other modern 2D platformers. Putting rollerblades on anything automatically brings world peace. If you have water in your trunk at the end of the level, you water the poplin. If this game has a gimmick for a level that isn't super interesting, it's only a bite-sized level. More games need to do this instead of fluffing out a mechanic that's just okay. The Wiggler races are an excellent change of pace, and they can be surprisingly challenging at times. And the KO levels are also awesome. You just have to defeat the enemies as fast as possible and can pick any power-up you want before going into the gauntlet. Toad's feet when he runs is kind of mesmerizing. This game even has grind railing. It sure is taking the best parts of Sonic, isn't it? There's goddamn Mega Man X wall climbing. Oh dear God, let Mega Man live, Nintendo, Jesus! Just look at the falling backward and forward animations. Even this looks great. Some levels have foreground and background sections, which again, it's great to see Mario games finally adapt to what newer 2D platformers have been doing for a while now. And the music even gets softer.
Oh, was it something I said?
You are still annoying, but it's pretty charming that you said that. You can easily jump from level to level within the menus instead of clunkily running around a hub world. The Fire Toad outfit is kind of fire. While the Dolphin Kick isn't quite as good as Penguin Suit Swimming, the bursts of speed are really satisfying. You can crouch and throw fireballs. Blue shells in the water let you swim faster. This game is pulling Mario Galaxy out of its ass, and I'm all here for it. Okay, Flower, that one was funny. The bubble power-up is way better than being forced to carry Baby Yoshi in New Super Mario Bros. U. The worlds still technically use the same themes as usual, but this time they're much more detailed and rich, making them feel completely unique and on their own. I like how the snowball destroys the flagpole, and after it rolls a whole cycle, we see it sticking out, keeping the continuity. It's a nice detail for Florian to be scared of the birds after this level because he's a caterpillar. The ground pound has a drum roll and a crash when you land. It adds a lot of dramatization to the move. Anyone else notice there's no more timer? Thank God! Mario, you're not allowed to be this adorable. Stop it. The Wonder Seed where the poles just keep growing and you climb them in all sorts of ways is really sweet. There are so many interesting and unique Wonder segments. Of all the beat block levels in Mario games, this one in the Special World is f***ing S tier. Not only can you juggle a shell with Elephant Mario, but if you hit it enough times in a row, it turns into coins. The Pedal Isle song is one of my favorite tracks in the game. Mario Wonder even has firework enemies. This game's got everything, man. Ooh, these shadow levels are like the ones in DKC Tropical Freeze. You don't get kicked out of the levels when you die. This is somehow the first 2D Mario to do this. This Wonder has you flying through a thunderstorm with lightning striking. Again, another fantastic effect. Why, yes, I've always wanted to be a shell that can jump 50 feet in the air. Finally, this game understands me. These time blocks have a visual timer, which is nice because previous games have had similar blocks without a timer. These enemies look like little candies and I want to eat them. Mario's yell gives me so much energy. Once you get out of World 3, you can play the last few worlds in any order you want. I was not expecting the game to open up this much. It's a nice change of pace. The drill power-up is kind of back from Mario Galaxy, and lets you dig into the ground as well as the ceiling. Pretty much every airship in the game has a distinct theme, and stands out amongst each other. If you bump into a Goomba while it's sleeping, it actually won't hurt you at all. You just woke it up. What the heck, Mario? I love this guy. Can I adopt him? The boosting spin jump badge is so much fun to use. It's probably my favorite because it's like the propeller mushroom from New Super Mario Bros., but not obnoxiously overpowered. This level reminds me of that one Muncher level from Mario Bros. 3. The sand world hides its levels like it's a mirage. Very smart idea. You can turn Mario's head slightly in the 2D segments before turning, for no reason. I was not expecting the on-off switches from Mario Maker to make an appearance. They brought back frickin' Balloon Mario from Mario 64 DS. I actually can't believe it. Listen to the song. Yeah, they put Mario's Sunshine music in this game, and that includes this stage too.
Hooray! I did it!
We're in the best timeline, guys. Even the cosmic clones make an appearance. This really is turning into Mario Galaxy 2D. It's so funny that Nintendo made an invisibility badge that's very unlike them. Captain Toad can be found in the hub worlds too, and he's hit quite the dead end. Ninja Jump Party is fantastic, as you'll need to jump with the music, which makes this another type of beat-based level, but is done in a completely different way. And some of the ninjas have tambourines. I mean, come on, come on! And look at that plant having the goddamn time of his life. I missed this purple coin by accident, so I did this.
That was cool.
Epic. Oh, what? Now we're playing a quiz? This game has massive Super Paper Mario energy. Even King Boo makes an appearance. This goo reminds me a lot of that one level in Super Mario Land 2, and I can't believe I'm calling back to that game. The Gooey Wonder ability is one of my favorites since you can cling on to any surface with ease. Grappling around the stage with a vine is more fun than it should be. There's a spiky boulder effect too? I mean, why not, right? Even late into the game, we're still getting crazy-ass wonder effects, like this spike statue attacking you with flaming boulders. Holy sh**. Then you got this dragon dude that comes to life after being a skeleton. Like, seriously, what was Nintendo smoking when coming up with these things? You may have met Bullet Bill, but have you met Missile Meg? Yeah, that's what I thought. These motherfuckers added Metal Mario. You guys are pushing my buttons too hard. I like the game already. You can stop now. There he is. It's Elephant Mario, auditioning for the next hit Disney show. Well, it looks like Bowser got really inspired by DJ Octavio. This final boss is very rhythm-based and is by far the most creative 2D Mario boss I've seen. So the last badge you get is Sound Off. It replaces the sound effects with human voices, which is hilarious, but I also wouldn't be surprised if this shows us how Mario's sound effects are started behind the scenes.
You stay.
Wait, dude,
Stay
it's
away,
me!
Demon elephant! Nathaniel,
Yeah, hello?
there is an elephant in the house, and we need to get rid of it.
What are you talking about?
Okay, I believe you. Okay, you know what? Let's use the orbit travel and send it back to Africa. Yeah, whatever, come on.
Guys, I need your help!
Yes, you do, you freak!
What? Nathaniel, what did you do to us? I'm sorry. I haven't mastered how these orbs work yet, okay?
Wowie Zowie!
That is the bubble power-up. You can use that.
Shut up! Wait!
Oh my.
Oh. Let's get out of here.
Well, I guess little old me is just stuck here. By the way, did you know that you're watching a Nathaniel Bandy video? Nathaniel Bandy has a brother named Nathaniel Nandy, and he's also a part of a channel called Minus World. You should really check him out.
What if Super Mario Bros. Wonder had brand new badges? What would they be exactly? Well, today I'll be going over 25 brand new badges that I think could work well in the game. This game has 3 different kinds: Action, Boost, and Expert. I've put together 10 Action badges, 8 Boost badges, and 7 Expert badges. Let's start things off with Throw Coins. Throw purple coins from your inventory as an attack. Hold the R button to throw 3 coins at a time. So there's quite a few attack options in Mario Bros. Wonder already, but I feel like having the ability to sacrifice your purple coins as an attack that you can use at any time would be really neat. Now, the only issue with that is that you'd have to disable the other power-ups, or you wouldn't be able to throw coins when you have a power-up equipped. Another potential problem is that you can max your purple coin count up to 999, which could lead to making the game broken, but also probably not. Mario can throw infinite fireballs, so having basically infinite coins would probably be fine. Next we have Slide Kick. Push down and Y on the ground and Mario will slide in front of him. Or in other words, the same slide kick that Mega Man does. Slide kicks in 2D platformers are a lot of fun, and we've kind of seen Mario have one in the past. He can do a slide kick in Super Mario 64 that bounces a bit, but I think just a regular one that can attack small enemies would add a lot of flow to the game. Imagine just running forward and there's a couple Goombas. Instead of jumping over them, just slide kick through them and then get back up immediately and just keep on running. Next up, ground pound jump. Push B as you hit the ground after a ground pound, and get extra height on your jump. Super Mario Odyssey has this exact move, and it's incredibly satisfying to pull off. Now, I know the ground pound jump works well in that game because it allows you to more easily align Mario's hat throw, but I could see it working really well in Mario Bros. Wonder 2. If you need to get somewhere higher up but there's also enemies nearby, you could smash them with your booty while also getting the jump you wanted. And the next badge is Dash. Press Y and dash in any direction you aim towards. You cannot alter the dash direction while it's in motion. Here we've got a move that's inspired by Celeste. I absolutely adore this one. It's one of my favorite platformers, and what makes it so fun is the movement. Being able to dash around the stages adds so much exhilaration and a sense of control, and I can see it working really well for Mario Wonder 2. I feel like the one drawback this badge would need to have is that you cannot hurt enemies while you're dashing. Because if you could dash and attack, well, you could just dash through the whole level without even trying. And next up is Pick 'em Up. No more stomping enemies. Now you'll stand on top and pick them up to be thrown. This works on the ground and in midair. Here we've got one that's exclusive to Super Mario Bros. 2. It's still such a bizarre concept for a platformer. You can pick up vegetables or pick up enemies for throwing. But if Mario Maker 2 taught us anything, it's that the concept still works really well in the modern era. So why not make it a badge in Mario Bros. Wonder? Make it so small enemies can be picked up quickly and the bigger enemies take longer, just like with smaller and bigger vegetables. Next we have Shoulder Bash. Press Y to dash forward and attack enemies with your shoulder. As you'd expect, this one is inspired by Wario from the Wario Land games. The Shoulder Bash is an incredibly satisfying move in those titles. Just being able to plow through enemies while also gaining a burst of speed is really fun. I do have to wonder how powerful this Shoulder Bash would have to be though, because you could potentially just spam it and never get hit by anything. It might make sense to have a moment where you need to recharge the badge or something like that. After that, we have Super Jump Punch. Press Y to perform a powerful punch into the air, taking out small and big enemies in one hit. Yep, I'm even digging into the Smash Bros. Series. This is one of the most iconic moves that Mario has for his moveset, and it's perfect for a game like this. You just punch really high in the air and take out all the enemies in one hit. But afterwards, you're kind of stunned for a second until you land somewhere. This could potentially slow down the flow of the game, but it could also be really useful. It's kind of a similar idea to the crouching high jump, only with a little more oomph. And next we've got Dive. Press Y and perform a dive through the air. You'll slide for a bit, and if you're going fast enough, you can roll out and continue running forward. I really enjoy diving in the 3D Mario games. That's what makes the movement in Mario 64 and Mario Sunshine so satisfying, and it's kind of shocking this has never happened in a 2D Mario game. And it'd also be awesome if you could kind of aim your dive a bit too. Maybe if you tilt the joystick up, your dive heads up a bit more, and then if you tilt it straight to the left or right, it's perfectly straight and you get a bit more distance. Up next is Florian. Throw Florian in an arc and he'll either collect coins near him or slowly attack an enemy. So Florian is kind of the mascot for Mario Bros. Wonder, although he's also really easy to forget about. We see Prince Florian in some of the cutscenes of course, but he doesn't really show up in the gameplay, so why not turn him into an extra attack? I mean, he's already helping us, being the official badge master himself. And finally for the action badges, we have Flower Power. Pick up the talking flower and press Y to make him shoot a fireball that flies forward. He can fire 3 fireballs and only 1 flower works per level. The talking flower is a really goofy part of Mario Bros. Wonder. Some love him, some hate him. I feel like it's kind of a mixed bag. So wouldn't it be awesome if he could actually spew fire at enemies? It would be such a jarring badge, considering we all know of this flower as just the guy that talks about whatever the hell he wants. I mean, have him say goofy lines while he's shooting fireballs. And that's all I got for action badges. I tried to come up with ideas that weren't already in the game yet, so let me know in the comments what ideas you've got. But anyway, let's move on to boost badges. First up we have Shield. Take 1 extra hit from an enemy without downgrading your power-up. This one is pretty self-explanatory. Shields are pretty common in a lot of platformers, so having one that lets you take an extra hit seems like it'd make for a pretty good badge. I wonder how it would look though. Would they just go with the Sonic approach and make it a big spear, or do something totally different? Who knows? Moving on to the next one, the Midas Touch. All brick blocks that you touch immediately turn into coins. At first, I was thinking about how the gold flower exists in New Super Mario Bros. 2, and then it got me thinking about King Midas the Golden Touch, a classic story where everything the king touches turns into coins. If this concept were just applied to brick blocks, that could be a really fun way to play levels and change them up drastically. Now, levels that rely on brick blocks would make this a problem, of course, but maybe if the blocks that already have coins in them just don't disappear, that could be a workaround. Next we've got Sensor 2.0. Detects significant items like the Wonder Flower and 10 flower coins, as well as secret exit locations. Admittedly, this is probably the least creative badge I thought of. You can already tell what levels have secret exits by looking at the level select and seeing if you have a check mark, even after getting the 10 flower coins and wonder seeds. So that's great and all, but having an indicator that hints that you're near a secret exit would be a nice upgrade to this badge, albeit maybe it's too similar to the original version. But anyway, next we've got Sleepy Time. All enemies are asleep. If you wake any of them up, they attack more aggressively than usual. It's so funny seeing Goombas taking a nap in some of the levels, so why not have a badge where all the enemies are catching up on some Z's? And obviously, if you do attack them for whatever reason, they attack much more aggressively than usual. I mean, I'd be pretty mad too if some dude abruptly woke me up or killed my Goomba friend right next to me. After that, we have Auto Cape. Enemy projectiles are automatically flung back towards the enemy with Mario's cape. There's a brief charge period if the cape is used too much. So it's a little surprising that Mario's classic yellow cape doesn't make any sort of appearance at all in Mario Bros. Wonder. I think turning it into a reflector-based badge would be the best way to go about incorporating it into the game without turning it into another power-up. And having a charge period would help prevent the badge from being too overpowered. Up next, we've got Purple Coin Sacrifice. If you die, you can respawn exactly where you died, but you must give up 50% of your purple coins. Yep, taking a bit of the Dark Souls / Shovel Knight approach with this one. Now, I didn't die very often when playing through Mario Bros. Wonder, but I did definitely get stuck on a few stages. So a badge like this would make you give up your precious purple coins as a trade-off. Now, if you've already purchased all the badges and standees, then maybe this badge would be super overpowered. But the thing is, if you've already beaten the entire game, then does it really matter at that point? But anyway, now we have Mind Control. Small enemies become enamored with you when you get close and they'll follow from behind, helping keeping you safe from the back. Only one enemy at a time will do this. I just feel like it'd be really amusing if any enemy you run into just starts hanging out with you while you're just running around. And having them as a mode of defense would be great too. I really just want one of those mamas or something just, hanging out and eating Goombas along the way. That'd be cool. And finally, we've got Color Power. A roulette is spun while the level is loading and randomly picks a color. Whatever color is selected gives you double the coins every time that color is touched. Works once per object. Okay, so I know this one is a bit complex, and honestly, I got the idea from the color challenges that are on YouTube. Those videos are incredibly silly, and for how weird Mario Bros. Wonder is, a badge like that would fit in well. Wouldn't it be great if your color was green and every time you hit a new patch of grass you would just get free coins? But yeah, that's all the ideas I've got for boost badges. Last but not least, of course, is expert badges, and I tried to make them as sadistic as possible. Starting off with Blue Shell. You're stuck inside a blue shell. You can jump and attack enemies, but you'll always be moving. This is basically the blue shell from New Super Mario Bros. DS, but you're moving at the same constant speed the entire time. Years ago, I tried to beat that game while being trapped inside the blue shell, and it was one of the hardest things I've ever done. I don't know how doable this would be, considering some parts of Mario Bros. Wonder require you to stand on a pipe for it to sink, but maybe some workarounds could be made so you could technically beat the whole game like this. But moving on, we have Living Off Coins. Start the level with 10 coins, but they drain and you die at 0. Coin count only maxes to 20 coins. If you really want to make coins feel valuable, this is a good way of going about that. Now, there's already a lot of places to get coins in all the levels, so maybe it wouldn't be too hard as long as you don't get stuck anywhere with no coins. This is another idea we've seen from other challenge YouTubers, and this idea could translate well to the game too. And next we've got this, OHKO, die in one hit, no matter what power-up you're using. Pretty self-explanatory, you die in one hit. I don't see Nintendo ever adding anything like this in a Mario game, but it would be really cool to see that. The later levels can be pretty easy to get hit by things, so this badge would toughen things up a bit. Up next we have Poisonous Takeover. All power-ups change to poison mushrooms. You'll die instantly if you touch them, and they also jump when you jump. Taking a bit of a Mario Bros. Levels The Lost Levels approach with this one. I also really love how in Mario Maker 2, the poison mushrooms jump with you. I think that just makes them all the more evil. So why not fill Mario Bros. Wonder with some of these bad boys, huh? And now we've got the sprained knee. Jump height has been cut in half. Can you still survive? Here we have a really basic idea that could drastically change the game. This one change could force you to start using enemies for extra jumps and completely change how you get through the level. I could see Nintendo actually doing this one too. And next up is Gravity Shifter. Every time you jump, gravity flips itself. Alright, so I'll be honest, this is the least likely badge to happen. There's a lot of levels that have open skies, so this probably wouldn't work that well. But if you could swap the gravity in mid-air, you could technically use it to weave your way through levels, but then at that point, it wouldn't really be an expert badge, so I don't know. Not the greatest idea, but I just love the game BBBBBB that uses this mechanic as its main premise, so I figured I'd throw it out there. And for the last badge, we have Chatterbox. The talking flower will speak to you really fast or really slow. It's random every time. If Mario Bros. Wonder's last badge is going to be a joke, then why not do the same for this video? Having the talking flower talk at slow or fast speeds would just be completely random, and potentially really funny depending on the situation. And that is all the new badge ideas I've got for Mario Bros. Wonder. I highly doubt Nintendo will do any of this for the game, it's probably completely finished, but if any modders are watching the video, then please go crazy with the concept. I'd love to see what you got, and with that, thanks for watching. I've done this challenge with every new Super Mario Bros. Game, so it was only due time to try this with Super Mario Bros. Wonder. The objective is to beat the entire game while collecting every coin. These include all the yellow and purple coins. It's not as simple as it sounds though, because this game complicates things a lot, and that's thanks to the badges. Of all the badges, the boost ones are what's causing a conundrum, and that's because multiple badges offer different ways of getting coins. The coin reward gives you 3 extra coins for stomping on enemies. The add exclamation blocks adds a bunch of blocks to every stage, and most of these blocks have coins. And finally, rhythm jump gives you coins for jumping to the beat of the song. What am I supposed to pick? I can only have one badge at a time. Well, ultimately, I decided that the answer is to pick none of the ones mentioned. And that's because I don't have access to these badges for the entire game. You only start with a parachute cap. So it'd be kind of weird to start the challenge without one of these badges and then slap it on once it's available. But with that out of the way, just a couple of quick rules. I must beat the final boss while collecting every coin that doesn't infinitely respawn. As an example, if you spray water on the grass, coins pop out of the grass for forever. Even the coins from enemies infinitely respawn. If at any point a level is impossible, I'm allowed to skip it and try another one if it's not required. I'm also not going to use the coin magnet badge, because that would make this way too easy and boring. But with that, let's get started. I'm actually pretty excited to be doing these again. It's been quite a while. The very beginning of the game, before the intro cutscene even begins, there is a handful of coins to collect. After Bowser turns into a castle, we enter our first level in World 1. Mario Bros. Wonder structurally operates the same as most Mario games, but also has a ton of differences. For one, you may have already noticed that there's no timer. The timer has been a huge dilemma with previous challenges, so I'm super thankful to not have to worry about that. When you hit bricks this time, you just get the coin automatically. That's also nice, because in previous games, the coins would spill out and sometimes be difficult to grab in time. But I can already tell that I'm gonna run into 2 main issues. One, this game is brand spanking new. That means there's no way for me to be able to access a map to see which pipes are accessible and where the invisible coins are located. So that means I'm gonna be testing every single pipe in the game to see if there's hidden areas, and I'll also be jumping around in the air a lot looking for invisible coins. So that's gonna be a bit tedious. And 2, you'll notice a ton of flowers and bulbs all over the place. I need to water every bulb and touch every flower that I see, because most of the time, they're gonna have important coins for me to grab. Another wonky thing about this game is the Wonder Seeds. Now, Wonder Seeds change up every single level to some capacity, which is really cool, but it'll likely run into problems for this challenge. Even for this first level, I got all the coins during the Wonder event, but then when it was over, I had to turn around and get all the coins and blocks that I missed. So there's probably gonna be cases where I'm forced to play levels twice to get all the coins, but I completed the first level after a bit of time. Moving on to Piranha Plants on Parade, it's worth bringing up the enemies' coins again. I actually wasn't sure if I need to get their coins at first or not, but after killing this respawning plant over and over again, coins just kept coming. After getting 5 in a row, I can confirm that enemy coins are not required for this challenge, but I will get them for the heck of it for any enemies that I do kill. I also decided to wait to get the Wonder Seed, and then once I started it up, I found a bunch of new purple coins on the ground. There's also coins in these rainbow note blocks, which means I'm gonna need to step on every single one. Moving on to the next stage, we've got the Skedaddlers. These guys were a little inconvenient, because most of them were holding on to our almighty coins. I also discovered that moving these pipes would give me coins, which means that even solving random puzzles will probably reward me with coins too. I'm just gonna need to be really aware to not miss any. The Wonder Effect once again had its own unique coins compared to just playing through it normally, which means that I'm basically gonna be playing chunks of all these levels twice. Another thing to mention is is that Elephant Mario is super helpful. His trunk attack knocks out a lot of enemies and breaks through blocks and objects swiftly, so we'll be using our thick lad for a lot of this challenge. Then it was time for Bowser to told me how proud he was that he was a castle, and then we moved on to the open world section. This is where things are gonna get interesting, because I can pick and choose what levels I want to play. I only need 10 Wonder Seeds to move on, so I started by going to the shop and grabbing one. Then I decided to play Hurry Hurry because the entire level is just running straight with all the coins right in front of you. I moved on to the Poplin up top, gave him some coins to open the path, and knocked out Parachute Cap 1. Then I went to this secret area and talked to Captain Toad to get 50 10 flower coins. This will probably come in handy later when I need more Wonder Seeds from the other shops. After that, I was starting to get pretty accustomed to what I needed to do. The only thing worth mentioning is that this P-block was a little scary seeing how many coins popped in, but they were all in a straight line and I had help from a Koopa shell, so it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. Wonder Token Tunes was super easy. Next was the Wiggler Race. This one actually took a few tries because I needed to keep stopping to break barrels to check for coins, and it turns out the only one with coins was this big one, and the rest of the level was easy. After a quick wall climbing session, we had enough Wonder Seeds to take on the World 1 Castle. There were 2 coins that seemed impossible to reach, but then you just need the Wonder Seed to get them. The pipes will then fall, and it's up for grabs. And that right there wraps up World 1. It was pretty easy, but I have a feeling things are gonna get tough once we get to the later stages, so I'm not celebrating yet. After getting a free Wonder Seed and finishing Dolphin Kick 1, we move on to our first massive hurdle, and that happens to be Robber Cove. At first, everything was pretty normal. There's a couple of well-hidden coins to grab, and once I got them all, I went ahead and started the Wonder Seed. This one flips the water upside down, and adds a bunch of glowing pipes and purple coins. Once I got all these, I touch the Wonder Seed, and this happens. Yeah, I have no idea what to do about this. There are so many freaking birds that not only hit, but also grab their coins. And that's just the beginning of my problem. Even if I were to hit all the birds, there's a small island with water surrounding it. This water leads to a pit, which means there's a good chance that these coins will despawn entirely before I even have any chance of collecting them. So I tried again, and instead of using the Dolphin Kick, I switched to the Parachute Cap so I'd be able to easily move around. I was able to hit a few birds with this method, but it's way harder than it looks. You still fall fairly fast, and there's so many birds to worry about. In fact, I counted them out. There's 12 different birds, which means there's 36 coins to grab. With practice, this is probably possible, but I also need to have godlike luck that the coins don't fall into the abyss and also don't disappear. So I just kept going at it. I left the level to get some elephant suits simply because I'd have a bigger hitbox this way, and I can also use this trunk to grab coins and hit the birds. And I kept trying over and over, and I was slowly starting to figure out where the birds were going to be, and getting a pretty good rhythm down. The main culprit was, again, just the coins, especially the coins on the left because they kept sinking into the water. After about an hour or 2 of attempts, this was my best run. You might think that I got all the coins there, but unfortunately that's not true. I started this segment with 91 coins and ended with 16. If I actually collected all 36 coins, I would have had 27 by the end. So it was really gonna come down to practice and a bit of coin luck. So I just kept on practicing, and I was slowly putting together a route and just grinding at it. I eventually figured out that the group of 5 birds could be taken out pretty quickly if I smacked the one all the way to the left, and I could also get 6 coins this way. Everything else was still a bit of a toss-up, however, but I was getting better. I eventually had another attempt where I only missed 4 coins, so this was seeming possible. It was just going to take a lot of practice and trying to get as many coins in the air as possible, but at this point, I'm almost 3 hours into playing. I was really losing steam and feeling less and less hopeful. So that's when I asked my friend Carl to help out. We figured that with 2 people, we could each focus on specific birds so we could get the coins faster. The route was actually so complicated that I drew out a diagram like we're making a f***ing football play, and I was showing Carl my exact route and where we should try to aim for. That is how challenging this was. And there was something else that was annoying about this. Every time we messed up, we had to restart the course from the beginning. And no, we couldn't use the checkpoint because we both needed the elephant suit since he has the biggest hitbox. But we settled down and did a ton of attempts, and eventually got a run where we only missed 2 coins. Even when we managed to hit all the birds, the issue still came down to the coins despawning. All we could really do is that I would grab the coins on the island, and Carl would blindly swim around in the water. And since the camera was focused on me, he couldn't see where he was swimming, so we just had to blindly guess. But despite how absurdly hard this was, we kept on trying, and eventually got a rundown to where we only missed 1 coin. It was great to see us getting better, but it still felt like there must have been some sort of easier solution. So Carl had the idea to use Yoshi as another strategy. Even though he didn't have the bigger elephant hitbox, he could at least flutter jump and potentially get more coins in the air that way. So we tried this for a bit, and unfortunately, it didn't really pander out. See, Carl basically needed to get the 3 bird coins on the left side the whole way down, and Yoshi's flutter jump was just too slow. So we went back to Elephant Mario, and then this happened. Oh my god, we actually freaking did it. Look at this. We started the level with 79 coins. At 36, you end up with 15. If we slow down this run, you can see exactly why it worked. Carl got 4 of the 6 coins and died. I got the middle and right ones and brought him back to life. He went back to the left and got 3 more. I hopped on the rest of the birds, and Carl got 3 more coins on the very last bird, while I just barely hit this bird to knock his coins to the ground. So counting my solo attempts and our attempts, this took 6 hours. Wow, I haven't gotten that stumped on a coin challenge in several years. That was truly wild. So after that, the rest of Petal Isles was pretty simple. But I did want to point out something in Bluebird Roost. This is the first place you get the bubble power-up, and you probably know that putting enemies in bubbles turns them into coins. However, like I said earlier, enemies spawn an infinite amount of coins, so I don't need to bother getting their coins either. This level was much more straightforward, and after that, I was on my way to World 2. At this point, I really had no idea when things were going to get hard again. It could come up at any time, honestly. Thankfully, World 2 had a strong start. I knocked out Wall Climb Jump 2, Puzzling Park, Out My Way Valley, Con Darts Away, Floating High Jump 1, and Up and Down with Puffy Lifts. Then came Fluff Puff Peak's Flying Battleship. Oh god, it's our first auto-scroller, and it's on a linear path, so I can't skip this level. The first half isn't that bad though. There aren't that many coins to grab, but once we get to the checkpoint, all hell breaks loose. You see all those Bowser blocks? You see all those bullet bill cannons? Yeah, they all have purple coins in them, and I have to get them all somehow. And the only way to break these blocks is with Bowser's laser from the Wonder Effect. The only problem with this is that I'm stuck in an auto-scroller, and the lasers are painfully slow to fire. This means I have to somehow get all the purple coins from the Bowser blocks while also getting the coins high in the air. And also, why the heck do bullet bill cannons have purple coins? Were they added here because the developers knew I'd do an all coins challenge and wanted me to suffer? And look at the coins! They fly out of the Bowser block. But strangely, the Bowser block purple coins always fly out in the exact same spots, so at the very least, I know where they're gonna be. But Bowser's laser, again, it is so freaking slow. The only feasible way I can do this is to access the Wonder Flower as early as possible and make sure Bowser doesn't miss a single laser shot. But sometimes, I have no choice but to miss a laser shot because he'll just randomly shoot faster? Why does he take 2 seconds to fire sometimes and then like half a second? It makes no sense. In fact, I got a game over because I kept getting hit by the laser or by the other enemies. So I went back in and I got a backup suit, and I also swapped to the floating high jump badge. A problem that I was having before was getting the laser to hit this top Bowser block, because for whatever reason, it's the only one that has purple coins in it. So this badge made it a bit easier to get up there. But even then, this was so ridiculously hard to route. But I got this down to a science. Ground pound this top block immediately, grab the coin up top and chuck fire to the right, grab all the coins from that box in the fire flower, and wow, the Wonder Seed is on the ground. And then from there, it all came down to very carefully manipulating Bowser's lasers. I finally had an attempt where I only missed 5 coins. The ones I missed was a group of 4 up in the sky, and then 1 at the very end of the segment. I also eventually figured out how Bowser's lasers work. They only fire when he sees Mario, so it's not actually random. This means that I kind of have control of when he fires, which is nice, and this led me to get almost every coin except 1 box. At the very end, only the top box has coins, but my movement was sloppy and the laser hit the middle and bottom one instead. A few attempts later, it looked like I actually got all of them, but checking over my footage, I actually missed 1 because of a despawn. But it didn't matter. I was feeling up to it now. The perfect run was gonna come at any time. I was fired up and ready to rock. Holy crap, that run was damn near perfect. So while I'm glad to have done that, I actually had to do it again. And the reason for that is because, well, since it's an auto-scroller, I'm forced to play both versions of the level back to back. So I played this again without getting the Wonder Seed. And the coins were in different spots. And yeah, it wasn't hard at all. But this is the first time I had to do this, and probably not the last time either. After getting another seed in a shop, I decided to try Jump Jump Jump, which was pretty straightforward. Then it was on to Fluff Puff Peak's Palace. This one again is pretty simple, but I needed to play it twice. After first getting through without the Wonder Seed, I tried turning around to get it and was blocked by a pipe. Interestingly, the Wonder Seed makes everything a shadow, which is super cool, but of course I need to explore everything, so I went backwards for the whole level. And sure enough, there was this huge barrage of purple coins just waiting for me there. It's really neat that Nintendo had coins here because, like, let's just be realistic, how many people are actually gonna do this? But once I finished that, I was done with World 2. So I knocked out Dolphin Kick 2 and Swimming in Petal Isles. World 3 had a pretty good start as well. I cleaned up an Empty Park, the Hoppy Cat Trial Hop Hoppin' Away, Unreachable Treasure, and Crouching High Jump 1. In fact, the entire world was almost a cakewalk. The Midway Trial, Hop to It, and the Sugar Star Trial Across the Night Sky were slow but painless. But the last level, however, the final trial Zip Track Dash, had a bit of a catch. It was another level that I had to play twice because of how the Wonder Seed was placed, so when I was going for the Wonder Seed route, I found 4 rows of coins that were super spread out and almost impossible to grab with just one person. After a couple of tries, I busted out a Joy-Con and turned on Player 2. The movement for this level was much more simple than the other one in Petal Isles we were stuck on, so I just went two-hand mode with the controllers. It took quite a bit of attempts to get used to the setup, but I figured out that keeping the bros close together meant that I could hit the jump and the down button at the same time. So then it just came down to getting a perfect run. Not the craziest challenge ever, but it was a bit of a doozy. But little did I know that the real challenge was just around the corner, and that was Jewel Block Cave. Once again, most of the level was pretty self-explanatory. The culprit comes down to the Wonder Seed. This massive thing called a conch starts crushing the jewels around you, and there are coins everywhere. This cave I'm being forced down has these purple jewel blocks, as well as these unbreakable gray blocks, meaning it's really hard to get around quickly. Lots of these blocks have purple coins that fly out sporadically, and for whatever reason, they despawn faster than usual. So that means I have to somehow get these coins before they despawn, but also do it without getting squished by the conch. And let's keep in mind, the purple coins can also get squished by the conch. So as you can imagine, this just seems to be completely impossible with just one person. I even tried using the elephant since his trunk can break the blocks too, but most of the blocks need the drill to get through them faster. So Carl came over again and we gave this a shot. And honestly, it was still super hard. Conch just comes down on us so fast, and there's so many purple coins in the middle that are hard to grab. Our first strategy was that I'd get the coins on the left and he'd get them on the right, but we just didn't have time to get them all. So then we added a third player to the mix, but this was just an empty controller set up as a dummy. And we had slightly better luck, but Nabbit wasn't really helping that much with grabbing coins. He was getting maybe 2 or 3 per attempt, but we needed more assistance than that. This is when I got desperate and switched to using my feet. This is not something new on this channel. I've beaten entire games with only my feet, so this just came naturally. All I would do is just move my toe left and right while working on coins, and also work on coins on the left side. And miraculously, this made a huge difference. We had an attempt where we only missed 3 coins somehow, but that was kind of a fluke. After even more tries, it just wasn't working out. Thankfully, another friend of ours, Aaron, was free today, so he came over and we got used to how Mario Bros. Wonder played. And that is when this happened. even with 3 people. That was insanely close. Seriously, look how close Conk got to squishing these purple coins, but we somehow pulled it off. It took me, Carl, and Aaron to clear this level, but we did it, and I'm super thankful that everyone was free today. But now I can finally move on to World 4. I started things off with Parachute Cap 2, and while it was a bit feisty at the end, it wasn't that hard to complete. And the same goes for the rest of World 4. I had a lot of easy ones to knock out. These include Ninja Jump Party, Pipe Park, Raise the Stage, R-Mods on the Roll, Treasure Vault, Valley Full of Snoodles, Crouching High Jump 2, Bouncy Tunes, and Sunbaked Skirmish. All that was left now was Sunbaked Desert Palace, and this one was a cakewalk, which means that we've officially finished World 4 and can move on. Although, oh god, no, not another airship? Oh my god, Petal Isles, why are you doing this to me? On my first run though, I only counted 3 Bowser blocks, which means that when I have to replay this with the Wonder Seed, I only have to break 3 compared to like 20. So I'm no longer that worried. I played the level again, and it actually only took 2 tries. There were purple coins in the Bowser boxes, but it was so few that it wasn't that hard to get them. And once I got to World 5, things were sailing smooth. I knocked out Up Shroom Down Shroom, Beware of the Rifts, Tumble House, an uncharted area Wubba Ruins, Grappling Vine 1, another uncharted area Swaying Ruins, and finally, a final uncharted area Poison Ruins. Somehow, all of World 5 was stupid easy. I only retried the last level a couple of times, and that was it. But after World 5, we need to knock out a couple more levels in Petal Isles before we can get to the last world. And Ma Mouthful wasn't too bad. Muncher Fields was also pretty simple. And with that, we had enough Wonder Seeds to tackle the final world. What's scary about this one is World 6 is almost entirely linear, so I have much less freedom on what levels to pick. I started with Item Park and Where the Rumbas Rule. After that was... oh no, another battleship! Thankfully, Deep Magma Bog Flying Battleship is the last one in the game, but I have no choice but to beat this one. Doing this without the Wonder Seed took me some attempts, but it was more than doable. With the Wonder Seed, on the other hand, well, not so much. The Bowser blocks are back once again, and at full f***ing force. And what's worse, the auto-scrolling is somehow faster! This leaves me very little time to manipulate Bowser's lasers into the boxes. I kept playing, and just assumed that this is where the challenge was gonna stop. The scrolling was so fast, and there was just no way I could get all the coins. But then, I completely forgot that these pulleys in the background actually stop the stage from scrolling. How the hell does that even work? Why does that work? I don't have an answer, and frankly, I don't care, because this means that we stand some sort of chance of surviving. Now, just because I can somewhat stop the scrolling did not stop this from being incredibly infuriating to route out. As usual, the purple coins from the Bowser blocks erupt everywhere, and there was this one on the left that had a very obnoxious purple coin that would always fall into the pit, so I had to be super aware of that, and of course, there's a freaking Mecha Koopa that's in the way on top of all this. So I had to get rid of the Mecha Koopa, pull the lever, and manipulate Bowser's lasers while somehow collecting purple coins that spread all over the goddamn ship. And guess what? The stupid Mecha Koopa comes back to life if you take too long, making this level even harder than it already was. I know it might not look that hard, but believe me, the coins spreading so far is what makes this take so long. They despawn so quickly, so you're trying to constantly pull the lever while getting the coins, while also hitting Bowser blocks. But eventually, I got this run. No more battleships. Please, don't do this anymore. After that, though, I knocked out enough levels to get the rest of the Wonder Seeds. These levels included Hot Hot Hot, Wavy Ride Through the Magma Tube, Dragon Boneyard, Floating High Jump 2, and Deep Magma Bog Palace. While all these levels were doable, I could definitely feel the difficulty heating up. A lot of coins were in awkward spots that I needed to grab, so it took me a bit longer to get all the coins in these. But I am in the last world, so it makes sense. Over time, I took out the last Bowser Jr. fight and sucked up the last Cloud Piranha. So this was it. It was time to take on Bowser. Well, almost. Bowser has a few levels of his own before I can actually fight him. And lucky for us, they didn't put up much of a fight. I got through Missile Meg Mayhem, High Voltage Gauntlet, Evade the Secret Bullet Bills, and Knucklefest Bowser's Blazing Beats. Again, these levels weren't easy to play, especially because of the Wonder Seed, because it had more Bowser Block purple coins. But thank God it was way easier to grab them since I had more open room and could blast the boxes open myself instead of waiting for Bowser's lasers. But then I was at the man himself, the one and only Bowser, that for whatever reason got really into Eurobeat music. Interestingly, there's actually coins to get during the final boss too. Every time you hit him or hit his hands, a few purple coins fly out. But that's it. Once you do that and stomp on Bowser's big button-ass brain, I can confirm that it is possible to beat Super Mario Bros. Wonder while touching every single coin. But of course, we're not done yet. There's a lot of levels I've skipped, so I'm gonna go back and try them all out and see what other ones are also possible. Heading back to World 1, Bull Rush coming through wasn't too bad, but I did bust out a second controller. That's because there's one section with a Wonder effect that requires one person to be on the bottom and one on top. So after doing that, we were good. Roller Koopa Derby also had one tricky section. After getting the Wonder Seed, I fell down and missed a bunch of coins spinning in the air. At first, I didn't know what to do, but all I needed was to switch to the parachute cap, and then I was able to grab them all. It was still scary trying to not miss any, but it was more than doable. But Swamp Pipe Crawl was a piece of cake. And so was Angry Spikes and Sinkin' Pipes. Bull Rush Express had some scary P coins to grab, but with Elephant Mario, it's more than possible. Springs in the Twilight Forest was a fun and easy one, but Cosmic Hoppos is a different story. Okay, so there's 15 rows of 5 coins each, and the camera moves so fast that even with multiple people, it would be just about impossible. There's a small chance that with 4 people, maybe it could be done, but it's hard to say. As for the rest of World 1, it was easy to knock the levels out. These include Jet Run 1, Pipe Rock Rumble, and Pop Up Hoppo. Moving on to finishing World 2, I was able to complete Pokey Pete Pass, Pull Block Passage, Countdown to Drop Down, Spring Feet 1, Fluff Puff Kerfluff, Kick It Out My Way, Cloud Cover, and Zip Go Round. The only one that wasn't possible was cruising with linking lifts, and that's because when you activate the Wonder Flower, these Luckatus in the background start throwing crazy amounts of coins. And since we're stuck on this lift, they throw tons of them behind us and it's impossible to not die. But that's it for World 2. It went by a lot quicker than I expected. Next, of course, is checking the rest of World 3's levels, and all these were also a cakewalk. These include the Anglefish Trial, Ready Aim Fly, the Sharp Trial, Launch to Victory, Watery Wonder Tokens, Timer Switch Climb, and Timer Switch Dash. Next, it was time to check out the rest of World 4's levels. All of these were also fairly simple. These include the Desert Mystery, Rolling Ball Hall, Blooms of the Desert Skies, Color Switch Dungeon, Secrets of Shova Mansion, Flight of the Blooms, Invisibility 1, Rever Run, Floating Wonder Token, and Lights Out. And now on to World 5, with only 4 levels I didn't do originally. And all these were also a breeze. They include Tailey's Toxic Pond, Light Switch Mansion, Fungi Funk, and Trottin' Piranha Plants. Next is World 6, and surprisingly again, all the missing levels could be completed. These are Rars in the Ruins, Pull Turn Burn, Boosting Spin Jump 2, Grappling Vine 2, Jet Run 2, Invisibility 2, Spring Feet 2, that's a lot of 2s, Magma Flare Up, and Hot Hot Rocks. So we move on to Petal Isles, which doesn't have many levels to check. Leaping Smackarel, Downpour Uproar, Boosting Spin Jump 1, and Petal Metal were all possible. However, Nosher Lair is not. Yeah, I think that level speaks for itself. And that's not all. Spelunking is another level we can't complete. And that's because we're forced to pick between 2 different routes which both have coins. There's this bouncy route, and then just the normal road, and there's no way to be able to get all the coins without the poison taking me out first. But now we move on to the special world, the last 10 levels, which are supposed to be the hardest in the entire game. Pipe Rock Plateau Special Bounce 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 and Fluff Fluff Peak Special Climb to the Beat were very possible, but Shining Falls Special Triple Threat Deluge was not. And that's because this spawn of coins covers a massive chunk of the level, and there's no way to get them all in time. Sunbaked Desert Special Pull Block Allure was a tough one too. There was nothing here that was too crazy, but just the general platforming was fast, and I needed to get through without making any mistakes. A lot of times I'd grab a pole or hit some enemy by accident, so this one took a handful of tries to get down. But then we move on to Fungi Mine Special Dangerous Donut Ride. And god damn it, I am once again stuck on another challenging level. And right at the end too, I literally have like 5 levels to go. So this level on its own is really difficult. You're free falling through this hole that's got poisony goo on the sides, and the goo keeps moving left and right on the screen. Touching it is a one-hit KO, so I not need to only avoid that, but then get all of these purple coins which are all over the place. In the end, it's just obnoxious. We've got 4 long columns of purple coins, and they're spread out just far enough so one person could not possibly collect them all. So you know what that means, right? Yep, Carl's coming back to help us again. We also switched to Yoshi so that the random enemies that fall during the free fall wouldn't stun lock us. But even once we both get familiar with the level, it was so hard to keep up. The poison moves so fast, and the coins were only on screen for so long. The long row of coins was also very hard to get, because we needed to keep wiggling the joystick left or right, or we'd get thrown off course and miss a bunch. And we just weren't quite getting it. So it was time to invite another friend over. And no, Aaron wasn't free on this day, it was Troy instead. The 3 of us should make this more than possible, although Troy doesn't really play video games, so it took him a while to get used to the controls. Our biggest issue was just the ending with the row. It was so easy to miss even a couple of coins, even with all 3 of us. But then, this happened. Good lord, that was hard. Please have mercy on my soul, Mr. Video Game. I'm right at the end here. Okay, so Deep Magma Bog Special Solar Roller was pretty simple, and so was Petal Isle's Special Way of the Goomba. Next, we've got the semi-final Test Piranha Plant Reprise. And, well, it was fine at first. There weren't that many coins to grab, but then we get to the end, and oh my god, come on! Why does the end of the stage have this huge group of triangle coins? Really? So Carl hopped in again, and we both got familiar with the level. For this to be possible, we were both gonna need to be Elephant Mario to have the biggest hitbox. But what makes this level so freaking hard is the auto-scrolling. At the end, it gets insanely fast, to the point where you're almost forced on the left side of the screen. And because of this, we're given very little time to react to the jumps we need to make. Now, with practice, of course, we were slowly getting better at this, but it was still just so brutally hard because of how little time we had to grab these coins. We eventually figured out that if we're spaced slightly apart, then it's a bit easier to grab the coins. I would do short hops while Carl would spin jump in the back, and this surprisingly made our runs more consistent, but it still didn't help that much. So we were looking at the badges, trying to see if anything else would help, and that's when I remembered the coin magnet. And even though I've banned that badge, I wanted to see how well it would work. And wow, would you look at that, we got all the coins using it. And that is why I banned it. You know what, I'm taking a break from this one. We'll come back to this level later. For now, I wanted to try the last 2 levels, one of those being the Final Test Wonder Gauntlet. This level is so damn cool, and it didn't have any hard to reach coins at all. And after that was the Final Test Badge Marathon. Again, another super fun level without any coins that are too difficult to reach. I did learn something though. Apparently you're able to ground pound the spring and it moves farther. That's an interesting thing to note that I did not do because I learned about it after beating the level. But honestly, that, I like making this level harder for fun. But when that was done, we went back to the semi-final level. Carl had an interesting idea of both of us doing spin jumps instead of just regular jumps. That felt like something that wouldn't work well, but it was actually a fantastic suggestion. In fact, we were now getting runs where we only missed 1 to 3 purple coins from changing this one part of our strategy. Just being in the air for slightly longer due to the nature of how the jump worked made a huge difference. I also spent some coins at the shop so we could properly count out if we got them all or not. We invited Troy over once again, just in case, got some elephant suits, and then got to it. And that is when this happened. I find it so hilarious how Troy was playing as Peach, died right before the hard section, got 1 coin by complete accident, and that was good enough to complete this. That is so goofy to me. And that wraps up every single level. Man, that was intense. There were way more challenging levels than I expected there to be. Out of all 129 levels, only 5 weren't possible. That means around 96% of the levels could be done while getting all the coins. That's by far the highest percentage we've ever had for one of these coin challenges, which is just crazy. It's basically a tradition at this point, but I want to find out if you can beat the entirety of Super Mario Bros. Wonder backwards. The premise is simple. We start at the end of a level and try to get to the beginning. So of course, we start with none other than Welcome to the Flower Kingdom. There's nothing out of the ordinary here, although you'll notice that these levels don't technically have flagpoles at the beginning. That's because a proper level editor doesn't exist yet, so the modder that put this together, Adam Zero, simply added a wonder seed at the beginning of each level. This gives us the exact same desired effect. Next was Piranha Plants on Parade and Scram Skedaddlers, both of those being pretty easy. This brings us to the open world section of World 1, which means we can pick and choose what to play. I started with Hurry Hurry. This level was kind of funny as it made the stage even easier than before. Then was Here Come the Hoppos. I used the parachute cap a few times to wall jump up this pipe. This is one of those tricks that we'll be using a ton for this challenge. As for the other levels that were easy, these include Bull Rush Coming Through, Wonder Token Tunes, Swamp Pipe Crawl, and Angry Spikes and Sinking Pipes. Mountaineering was surprisingly difficult because of the grind rails. They kept forcing me in the wrong direction, and trying to jump in the opposite direction is easier said than done. If you land on the bottom of a rail grind, you'll be launched forward. It was really funny watching Wiggler run to the ending all on his own, although we're not really racing him this time, so it doesn't matter how long we take. After some attempts, I figured out what I needed to do. If you manage to jump immediately after landing on the top, you can get across with some help using the parachute cap badge. Then moving on to Pipe Rock Plateau Palace. The enemies seem to get in the way a little bit more backwards, but otherwise, World 1 could be completed. The only level that I tried that couldn't be done was Wall Climb Jump 1. And that's because we're blocked by the ground, and believe me, this will not be the last time this happens. But who cares, because we made our way to Petal Isles. Leaping Smackerel was very easy, and so was Dolphin Kick 1. The culprit, however, is Robert Cove. Right at the beginning, we're trapped in this pit with nowhere to go but up. Thankfully, the parachute cap is a fantastic badge as it allows us to scale up any wall we want to, so after scaling up the wall for what felt like forever, I climbed my way up and at him, and got stuck. At the checkpoint, we've hit a complete dead end. We can't pass under any of the platforms, and this level is required to make progress in the game. So, is this it? Is the challenge already over? Well, I have an idea. If you haven't seen speedruns of Mario Bros. Wonder yet, the game is already incredibly broken. There's skips and Petal Isles that allow you to bypass Worlds 2 and 3 completely. These are done using 2 players, and the general idea is to warp one of the players out of bounds and have that player walk on the outline of the hub world to skip it. However, this skip is generally used after completing Bluebird Roost, which is literally the next level I have to play. So I'm one stage away from this exploit. But here's the thing, this trick works because Mario walks down this outlined path while the second player is in a mid-air jump. And there's an outlined path in this area too, so maybe I could create the same exploit in a different area? After figuring out the steps and timing, I somehow managed to pull off the exploit. I don't think I discovered this particular spot, but most people never need to do this. And also, I quickly learned how awful this trick is. There's 2 mistakes you can make with this exploit: walking out of bounds or back into the bounds. You may think that Mario just needs to walk across the light blue part of the water. Yeah, no. The hitboxes make no sense because, well, you're not supposed to be able to walk here to begin with. I'm basically walking on a tightrope that I can't see, and messing up means starting over from the beginning. The only way I can really get across is with a lot of trial and error. I have to figure out where it's safe to walk, and the only way to do that is to make tons of mistakes. It is at least nice that the exploit is consistent to pull off with practice, but this island is huge and filled with sharp turns. Making mistakes was really easy to do. I mean, just look at how many turns are on both sides of the island. So I had nothing else to do but keep trying, and was getting more and more frustrated the better I got at it. Which I know sounds weird, but the reason for that is because getting a good attempt takes a while. I'm literally flicking my joystick to ensure my movement isn't bad. And this is around when I contacted Isay, because this guy is basically a genius when it comes to breaking Mario games. He showed me a clip of someone trying another route that got him to World 6. So I was like, ooh, that's what I want, skip more of the game. And I started to mess with that exploit for about 10 minutes until realizing that I don't have enough Wonder Seeds to even enter World 6. So I went back to the original island, and this time I was practicing on the left side. I realized that it's slightly less wavy and also seemed to have more generous hitboxes. So I just kept at it, and slowly started to figure out what spots were safe and which spots weren't. It was getting to the point where I had to mark down where I kept falling so I could remind myself where the bad spots were. That is how hard it was to tell. I literally had to make these psychotic guides to help. But eventually, after much trial and error, I got across to the other side. Now's the time to celebrate, right? Well, I should have expected that. I guess I didn't get quite far enough for that to work. So I got to the other side again and actually got fully across. Look at that! Bluebird Roost is right there. Oh man, it's close enough that I can taste it now. But then I got stuck on the island right before it. Oh, that was a painful mistake. Also, for some reason I wasn't allowed to jump. Man, I have no idea what's going on now. I have nothing else to do but to try once again. The hardest part I learned was this top left corner, as it seemed to work differently compared to the other sections. At the beginning, I was trying to stay in the light blue area, but once you get to a certain point, you need to basically be on the shore while not walking back in bounds, or you'd just fall. But then it happened. I got across to the level. Yes, I made it! But wait, huh? Hold on, I still can't jump? And I can't select the stage? Look at this scenario. Luigi is somehow trapped underground with only his head sticking out, and I'm just stuck here. At this point, I had no idea what to do, so I tried switching to one-player mode, and all that happened was that I warped back to Mario. But I wasn't ready to give up yet. Not after all that effort. The only issue now was the fact that I couldn't jump. So I went ahead and started jumping more while walking on the edge to ensure I wouldn't sink into the ground too much. This made the beginning part a lot harder, as I kept falling out of bounds. So instead, I would just walk all the way up until the straightaway part. Then I would just jump and get out of the water, and it made this straight section easier. However, the hitboxes are completely different when you're above the water. Yeah, seriously, the hitboxes change if I'm slightly inside the water or above the water. So I walked farther out into the water, and I found I could just walk across the entire stretch up until this part at the end where I fell through the floor. So on the next try, I got across that gap and then fell through the floor in another section, which means if the level can be accessed, I just need to find all these invisible holes. I got another attempt in, and this time I'm completely above the ground. There's no reason now that I should sink down again, but as soon as I get to the island, my head is sticking out yet again. While yes, I am on the wrong island, I think I kind of have an idea of what's happening. Since we're not supposed to be able to access this level yet, I think the level geometry is only partially loaded in. In between these two dots basically determines if I'm allowed to be above the level or not. So while we can technically walk on it, we're not able to jump because the actual level is probably hiding underneath the hub world in reality. It's a common tactic used in games to load things in different states. Like, just watch any episode of Boundary Break and you'll understand what I'm talking about. I wanted to try it a few more times and I just wasn't having any luck. At this point, I was getting ready to give up and say the challenge can't be done. But of course, because this is me, I was overthinking the problem by a landslide. The answer I was looking for wasn't in the hub world. No, it was hiding in Robert Cove. Yes, the pathway is still blocked, but there's another option I can try to get past this obstacle, and that, of course, is multiplayer. This requires 3 people, and the idea is pretty simple. Put one person in the water slightly off camera, have another near the checkpoint flag to hold the camera in place, and then turn the third person into a ghost. Aim that ghost towards the character off screen, and bada bing, Luigi is in the water. So now I can turn the other characters into ghosts and get past this obstacle with no problems, meaning that we can actually continue on. So after all that, we're finally going into World 2, and things started off pretty smoothly. I breezed through Bluebird Roost, Out My Way Valley, Pokapede Pass, Puzzling Park, Pole Block Passage, Cloud Cover, Floating High Jump 1, and Up and Down with Puppy Lifts. Condarts Away had a really scary wall jump section where I had to climb up before the Condarts destroyed the walls, but otherwise it was also easy. The only one I tried that couldn't be done was Wall Climb Jump 2, because the bridge platform blocked us off, and there doesn't seem to be a workaround with multiplayer. But then came Fluff Puff Peak's Flying Battleship, our first auto-scroller. For the auto-scrollers, we decided to turn off the cameras for the mod so I could just discover if clearing the levels as they were was possible. But I quickly ran into a big barrier. There is no way to blow up these bricks, and I didn't have a way to activate the fireworks. My first idea was to use Bubble Mario to activate them, but of course they just turned into a coin, and I don't know why I thought anything else would happen, like duh, that's gonna happen. So that's when I busted out multiplayer again, and tried a similar strategy to use a ghost to get underneath the platform. After a couple of tries, I managed to get the strat to work. which is great because this was another stage I wasn't allowed to skip. So we had enough Wonder Seeds to try the final level, Fluff Puff Peaks Palace. This one, however, had another blockage, a gold pipe that would normally require you to stand on so that it'll go down. However, even with a multiplayer strat, there wasn't really a proper gap to make this work at all. So does this mean the challenge is over again? Well, of course not, because we can use the Petal Isles exploit once again to skip World 2 and make our way to World 3. After spending about 10 minutes finding the right spots, I managed to make my way across and get into a level! Finally, I got this exploit to work properly. In Petal Isles, I knocked out Swimming and Downpour Uproar pretty easily, which means we have enough seeds to get into World 3. Things started off pretty nicely with an empty park, the Hoppy Cat Trial, Unreachable Treasure, and Crouching High Jump 1. But then came the Midway Trial. Once again, we're stopped by the ground without any conceivable way of getting around. I tried both pipes, and even with multiplayer, I couldn't find a way around this. And that's a problem because, once again, this level is required to move forward with World 3. So that means we're gonna go back to Petal Isles again, right? Wrong. Instead, we're gonna do some super goofy skips in the World 3 hub using the same exploit. In order to pull this off, we need to keep Mario on this tile, and then run Luigi down to the corner. Jump and pause midair as usual, and using the same process as before, Luigi warps out of bounds. Now the goal this time is to actually get to the Captain Toad pipe, as that'll take us to World 4. However, I'm not able to jump for some reason, and after several tries, could not clip myself towards the pipe. However, another exploit was found for this very specific reason where I was able to jump in this area. And to do that, I just need to pause when Luigi just finishes running down this path, and for whatever reason, that lets him jump. So finally, we can clear the jump and get across. I talked to Captain Toad to celebrate, and then I warped us to World 4. God, this entire challenge so far has just been one wall after another, and we're somehow walking through all of them. But anyway, we were able to try Rolling Ball Hill and Rubber Run, and both levels were pretty easy. But wait, oh no, we're stuck behind another wall. Normally, you need to hit 3 question mark blocks in the sand to open this wall, but right now, we are literally trapped inside this room. Is there anything we can do to escape? Well, look, don't ask me why that worked. I'm just playing a video game over here. So from there, I played a bunch of simple levels. These included Pipe Park, our mods on the roll, Raise the Stage, and the Desert Mystery. Parachute Cap 2 at first seemed like it couldn't be done. There's piranha plants all over the platforms, and while I can turn them into coins using bubbles, the main issue was this hole in the ceiling. It's perched just awkwardly enough that I can't get myself up. Wall jumping is incredibly hard because it's easy to bonk your head and lose all your momentum. So I tried using a few bubbles to build up height, and while it kind of worked to an extent, I wasn't getting enough height to actually get up there. But after like 20 minutes, I accidentally took a plant out with a bubble and turned it into a coin, and that led me to trying the wall jumps again. And that is when this happened. Oh my god, I'm astonished I was able to get up here. After that, I just needed to be careful around the plants, and past the checkpoint, I needed to do a few well-timed bubble jumps to get across the gap. But that confirms that this one is actually possible, which is insane. Next, I tried Crouching High Jump 2, and again, I'm stuck at a bridge I can't pass. But interestingly, there's a donut block on the right that I could potentially use to ghost my way to the other side. The only problem is Daisy has to stand on the donut block, Mario has to move so she's off screen, and then I have to ghost with Luigi and touch her before she falls to her death. Doing all this by myself wasn't gonna work, clearly. But thankfully, Carl was here to save the day. This took us a few tries, but we actually managed to warp underneath. But then Luigi launched himself back up. Okay, fine, you know what? We did it again, and this time Carl ground pounded as soon as we warped underneath. Because of that, we were able to get across, which is awesome. But next was this massive wall to climb up. It didn't seem like there was going to be a way to get up there, even with the crouch jump. But after trying a bunch, I somehow got up? Like, I genuinely don't know how I did it, but I used the cursor and somehow made my way up to the top. So Luigi ghosted up to get up there as well, and then we just finished the level. Again, another insane one. At this point, all I've got to do is farm a bunch of purple coins so I can get the rest of the Wonder Seeds I need to unlock the last level in World 4. So after doing that and also finishing Bouncy Tunes, I had enough purple coins to buy the last Wonder Seed I needed and moved on to the last palace. This is it. I just need to clear this level and I can move up. Oh no. This is really bad because compared to the first 3 worlds, I actually have to finish this palace or the game won't count it. I busted out multiplayer, but there's not really a good spot to use the ghost exploit. That is until I manage to find this ridiculous strategy. By standing in these spots and ghosting, you're actually able to clip underneath and continue the level. This only works because Mario controls which parts of the stage are considered off-screen and which are safe to stand on. It's absolutely crazy that this worked at all. But after that, the level's easy, which means we can actually get to World 5. I cannot believe how long this has all been able to be stretched out. But first, I needed to tackle Petal Isle's flying battleship, and it was a fun one to do. I didn't have the clouds to begin with, so I needed to very carefully jump across and damage boost off these fire geysers. After that, there were tons of clouds and the level was pretty simple. Then I needed to get a couple more Wonder Seeds in Petal Isles and quickly knocked out Nostra Lair, which means we can officially move into World 5. Once in World 5, Tailly's Toxic Maze, Trot and Piranha Plants, and Beware of the Rifts was pretty easy, but an uncharted area was looking pretty grim. We have yet another sideways pipe that we can't enter, and how appropriate too that it's raining on us.
What's the matter?
What's the matter? Dude, I'm literally stuck here and can't continue on. I even tried clipping out of bounds with Luigi, and while I was able to do that and walk down the staircase, it doesn't really matter because the levels won't be unlocked or accessible. So that confirms that it is unfortunately not possible to beat Super Mario Bros. Wonder backwards, despite how far we managed to get. My last-ditch idea was to clip into World 6 using the Captain Toad location. I figured that maybe I could go out of bounds here and drop down to World 6, but after some tries, Luigi never clipped out of bounds. But for fun, I'm going to try out the rest of the levels that I missed, because why not, right? Diving back into World 1, I tried out Bull Rush Express and was immediately blocked off. I wasn't even able to enter this pipe, and even if I could, the level normally has poison that rises to the very top, so either way, I would have been screwed. Roller Koopa Derby was pretty simple though, and so was Springs in the Twilight Forest. Parachute Cap 1 was also possible, but had a pretty tight jump. I needed to wall jump my way up here using the parachute for momentum, and you only have just enough room to wall jump before dying. After that, we didn't have much luck with the rest of World 1. Cosmic Hoppos doesn't work because we're once again stopped by the Brown Bridge platform. Jet Run 1 can't be done because the jumps are too spaced out for us to be able to get across. And Pop-Up Hoppo was a surprisingly interesting one. With the elephant suit, I could whack the Hoppo, but couldn't get quite high enough to go over the steps. There were a few instances where it got a little extra height, but never enough to get over the first hurdle. So I tried using the Add Exclamation Blocks badge to see if extra platforms would get added, and nothing changed of course. So then I tried the Crouching High Jump badge to possibly launch it into the air, but I just got bonked instead. I even tested the Grappling Vine, and of course it didn't collide with Hoppo at all. Don't know why I tried it, just figured I might as well. So unless there's some other method, this level is not possible backwards. Oh, and if you're curious about the arena stages, well, we'll always get blocked off since you're supposed to defeat the enemies to make progress. So that was about it for World 1, now to try out the rest of World 2's levels in Fluff Puff Peaks. You might think that jump, jump, jump would be impossible. It's a time-based level where you have to run with the platforms to the beat. But that's where this stage gets kinda quirky. If you fall into the pit, well, instead of dying, you're sent to this yellow pipe. And that yellow pipe takes us back to the beginning, which is exactly where we wanted to go anyway. Countdown to drop down was also easy, and cruising with linking lifts was really fun. At first, I had no idea how to get across because the gap was so big. So I tried adding the safety bounce badge while also bouncing off these birds. This worked for a little bit, but then came this next section. The jumps here were very far apart, and the safety bounce wasn't quite working. That's when I switched to the floating high jump. Not only did I have higher jumps, but since I would float down, it allowed me to be a bit more precise with my landings, which was really important for this level, because most of the platforms I had to work with were very tiny. So after a few tries, I cleared the stage. All that was left was kick it out my way and zip go round. And both of these were a piece of cake. So outside of the arena stage that also isn't possible, we can move on to World 3, Shining Falls. The Anglefish trial isn't possible because we're stopped by this sideways pipe. But then things get spicy with the Sharp trial. Normally, you use a bamboo platform and play the stage like it's an auto-scroller, but we don't have access to that, and this isn't actually an auto-scroller, meaning that I can still try to get across without using it. The only problem is most of the platforms are spikes and the gaps are huge, so getting across is gonna be insanely hard. My first idea was to use the safety bounce. This allowed me to clear the first huge gap, but that was the least of my worries. After that was another big gap, and the only thing waiting for me was a bunch of spikes. So I got a couple of elephant suits and realized I was gonna need to damage boost my way through this. This miraculously worked and actually got me all the way to the checkpoint. But believe me, this is where the real challenge is. To get through this, I need to clear several sections that are filled with spike platforms. I can still damage boost to some extent, but this section is a lot longer than the other one, so that's only gonna work for so long. Now thankfully, this bulb spawns a question mark block, which has a mushroom in it, so I don't have to keep retrying from the very beginning. But the big issue was that I could not make enough progress without dying to a pit or spikes, which led me to unironically using a fairly lousy badge, the all-elephant power. That's because I can get an elephant suit for 2 damage boost hits. But even still, this just wasn't enough to get across. I was really starting to think this couldn't be done, until I realized I could try this with the bubble flower instead. So that's when I tried this. Ah, gotta love the good old bubble power-up. I moved on to the Sugar Star trial, which was painless, and then we've got the final trial. It was immediately looking like it was gonna be a hard one to get through. First off, the grind rails are facing the other way, so I need to consistently make precise jumps to go the opposite direction. The first hard bit comes with this grind rail that shoots straight up into the air. You fly up and grab the rail on top of it, but there's a tiny opening that we need to squeeze through. After some attempts, I found that by ground pound canceling and using the parachute cap, that gave us just enough space to get through this part. After that, it was just a lot of parachute jumps and fighting against the current. So I managed to make it to the checkpoint and was confused on what to do next. I jumped across these clouds only to find grind rails pointing down, and I also wasn't able to reach the other side. So I tried some other badges like the floating high jump and even grappling vine with no luck. The safety bounce got us across, but since I couldn't also use the parachute cap, it made climbing up virtually impossible. Then I took my attention to the storm clouds. After discovering an invisible block and also using the add exclamation blocks badge, I was able to reach the first cloud and bounce off it, which led to nothing. So I switched to the spring badge and was able to jump off the following cloud, but wasn't even close to the one after that. So after messing with all these badges, it was clear to me that the bubble was the one thing that could deal with this trouble. After tons of practice, I eventually got a run where I bubble jumped really far to the right and then turned around and bubble jumped all the way to the left. By some miracle, I didn't mess up any of the jumps and actually got myself up and managed to clear the stage. All that was left at this point was Watery Wonder tokens, Timer Switch Climb, and Timer Switch Dash. And they were all super easy. And that wraps up World 3, so on to World 4. Blooms of the Desert Skies and Valley Full of Snoodles were pretty simple. And then there's Flight of the Blooms, which was a super interesting level to tackle. After the checkpoint, there's a pipe that you go through and a bunch of blooms are floating away from you. This is actually the best case scenario because the gap is massive, but I kept getting bounced back from the blooms. I tried a few badges and wasn't sure what to do until I busted out the elephant. With this, I could break blooms that got in the way, while at the same time bounce on the ones below. It took a couple of attempts, but I was actually able to get across this huge gap despite how scary it was trying to survive. After that, I had to make a few more jumps that seemed impossible, but since I had the safety badge equipped, I was either saved from that or another bloom was in just the right spot so that I could survive. This level was terrifying, but also super fun to complete. Color Switch Dungeon, on the other hand, couldn't be done because we're stopped by another brown bridge without any options to use multiplayer ghosting, and Secrets of Shoba Mansion couldn't be done either because I wasn't allowed to go back through this door due to a lack of a floor. I tried the add exclamation blocks badge again to see if maybe a floor would spawn underneath the door, and of course it doesn't. Moving on to Ninja Jump Party, this was one of the strangest levels I played. First off, there's no lights or anything because we can't get the Wonder Seed, so it's ominously dark and quiet. But even weirder, we can just pass through these walls? Why the hell do they just open up for us? That makes no sense because you normally need flower coins to open them, but I guess the game doesn't care if you're on the other side. But even stranger than that, at the end of the level, there's an invisible wall that stops us in our tracks for seemingly no reason whatsoever. So because of that, the level is impossible. Man, what a bizarre stage to play backwards. But to finish things up strong, Invisibility 1, Treasure Vault, Floating Wonder Tokens, and Lights Out were all possible. There's also an arena stage that can't be done here, of course, but since we're finished with World 4, let's check out World 5, Fungi Mines. Light Switch Mansion was a piece of cake, but after that was a bunch of bad luck. Upshroom Downshroom can't be done because of a brown bridge barrier, and another uncharted area has nothing at the end because you normally get here from a Wonder Seed. And the same thing goes for a final uncharted area. Again, another brown bridge we can't get underneath. Grappling Vine 1 can't be done either because, you guessed it, there's another brown bridge, and there's also another arena stage that can't be done either, but the last level, Tumble House, could be done easily. And that wraps up World 5. So let's hop into World 6, Deep Magma Bog, where the Rumbas rule was pretty easy, although the drill was required for this one section. Roz in the Ruins was another interesting level to try getting through, mostly because it forced me to switch badges mid-level to make progress. First off, this jump is pretty damn big, and can't be made with the boosting spin jump badge, so here I needed to switch to the parachute cap. This made the jump possible, but only just barely, as you can see. Then I hit another checkpoint, and boy oh boy, look up there, another set of walls to climb up. So I had to take a life, switch back to the boosting spin jump, and then I could make my way up top. But even still, I had to avoid these lava enemies, which was easier said than done. After all of that, I needed to redo this level with the bubble power-up because I need to hit this bulb to move the blocks. So after some tries, I got my way back around and activated the bulb, and I was good to go. After that, though, was a big string of easy levels. These include Pull Turn Burn, Hot Hot Hot, Boosting Spin Jump 2, Jet Run 2, and Invisibility 2. Deep Magma Bog Flying Battleship was also possible, but it required some tight bubble jumps as well as 2 different areas to damage boost in. As for Wavy Ride through the Magma Tube, well, we couldn't even get into the pipe. Floating High Jump 2 can't be done either because even with damage boosting, there isn't a safe platform without falling. And Grappling Vine 2 simply has nowhere for us to vine. Spring Feet 2 can't be done either because this platform is just a little too high for us to reach, and then we have Dragon Boneyard. This was another really fascinating one because there's this massive lava section that just seems impossible. However, there's a lot of birds that I could potentially jump off of to survive. So I tried this out for quite a while, and while I could bounce off a few birds, I could not get far enough to safety. So I turned on the safety bounce badge and managed to find a pattern that could get me up this massive hill of lava, but no farther than this. So I instead tried this out with some bubble jumps, hoping it would come to the rescue. And while I could get myself a little bit farther, the main issue was that the lava on the top and bottom are too close together. And the way this trick works kind of forces me to always gain a bit of height, so no matter what I did here, I could not beat this one. Item Park and Hot Hot Rocks were super easy, but Deep Magma Bog Palace has a very tricky jump at the beginning. I wasn't sure if it could be done at first, but with a well-timed bubble jump or two and some spins, you can get a decent chunk of distance, and combining that with a safety bounce actually gets us across. After that, the rest of the stage is easy, so this is another possible one. And outside of the arena level that of course we can't beat, we are completely done with World 6 and can finish up with Petal Isles. Starting things off, it's very possible to beat Mama Mouthful, Muncher Fields, Boosting Spin Jump 1, and High Voltage Gauntlet. Missile Meg Mayhem requires a few precise bubble jumps and parachute caps, but it wasn't too bad either. But everything after that unfortunately gave us issues. Jewel Block Cave couldn't be done because we couldn't go through this pipe. Dolphin Kick 2 has these platforms that close in on you so fast that it's not possible to swim through them without getting squished. Then there's Spelunking, it's got some unpassable music blocks as well as poison that rises from the ground, and Knucklefest Bowser's Blazing Beats has another pipe that we can't pass. Now, I bet you're all curious about the final level. Bowser's Rage stage. Unfortunately, I've got very little to report back because not much can be done here. That's not to say I didn't try though, because using some bubble jumps made it possible to clear parts of this level. In fact, I was building a bit of confidence, wondering if I could actually do it. But then I forgot that the poison lava eventually stops us, and there's nothing we can do about that. And this world, of course, has the last arena stage, which again is not possible either. And that's everything in Petal Isles, so we'll finish things up with the special worlds. And let's just say things didn't start too well. Bounce, bounce, bounce can't be done because of another pipe, and climb to the beat doesn't seem to load properly. I fell multiple times trying to find the beginning of the level, but I don't think it exists at all in this mod. Triple Threat Deluge was really cool though, because you normally have to walk on the wall to get across, but this time we just played it normally since the Wonder Flower is near the beginning of the level. And funny enough, the bouncy blocks and the pegs are the exact same thing, meaning they have the same bouncing properties. So after a bunch of tries, I figured out that using the grappling vine was the best strategy, especially for the end. There was this strange invisible wall that I couldn't get around, but the vine for whatever reason made the jump work. The only problem now is that I'm forced to grab the Wonder Seed, which traps me on the wall again. And also, the spiky balls didn't spawn for some reason, which just made me stuck here. So unless there's some weird bug or something, this level can't be beat. Pole block alert can't be done either because the Wonder Seed you usually get at the end makes everything disappear, including the platforms you'd need to get down. Moving on to Dangerous Donut Ride, this one can't be done because as soon as you leave the red pipe, you spawn on top of poison. Special Solar Roller isn't possible either because you're surrounded by lava with no platforms nearby. And then we move to Special Way of the Goomba, which was incredibly annoying. I had to keep damage boosting off these thwomps while using the safety bounce badge to get across. It wasn't that hard necessarily, but one mistake meant either restarting or going back and getting suits. But once I got past most of the hard stuff, the Wonder Seed started and forced me to use it, meaning that this level can't be done. That's because there's no power-ups anywhere in this level, so even if I get the second Wonder Seed, I can't get all the way back to the beginning since I wouldn't be able to damage boost. Man, the special world has been pretty rough for us, hasn't it? But hey, Piranha Plant Reprise only has a couple of hard jumps, and after that, it was possible. That's when I tried the final Test Badge Marathon. Now I imagine that this is the stage that most of you are interested in seeing, and so was I. Can the hardest stage in the game somehow be completed backwards? Well, for starters, playing the invisible section is just as hard as it was in the original, if not a bit harder because the blooms are going in the opposite direction. But also, there was this weird bug in this mod where the invisibility went away after dying once, meaning that I can try the stage without being invisible, which was kinda cool. But even using a bubble to get up to the top of the pipe, we're stopped by yet another bridge. So yeah, we can only get through one section and that's it. But the last level I have to show you is a lot cooler. And that is the Final Test Wonder Gauntlet, and that's because it uses bubble jumping to the ultimate degree. Throughout this video, we haven't needed to do that many jumps in a row to get across big gaps, but this level in particular is a different story. It's incredibly challenging to complete backwards, and that's because there's tons of hard jumps and enemies that are really easy to run into. So what's the best solution here? Well, it's quite literally to bubble jump over the whole stage. For whatever reason, Wonder Gauntlet doesn't have a ceiling, which means that we can climb up as high as we want to. And I don't know how I did this, but I somehow got this amazing streak where I just kept going up and up and up and up all the way until the end of the stage, which means we were able to actually finish this one, which is so sick. Phew. My god, was this game an adventure. We ended up delaying this video because of all the insane exploits we kept finding. It was quite a rush the whole way through and also a lot of fun. Out of all 129 levels, only 86 were possible, which gives us a 66% success rate. It's pretty crazy how many levels couldn't be done, and also how many required insane strats to be pulled off. I recorded hundreds of hours for the next 100% marathon video, and considering the games included, I am very tired, exhausted, and need a damn break. Whoa! Oh my god! It's Super Mario Bros. Wonder! Nintendo Switch 2 Edition plus Meetup in Bellabel Park! Wow! Speaking of marathon videos, a couple years ago I completed all the 2D Mario games and figured I might as well do the same for Wonder's DLC. To 100% this, I need to beat the 8 Koopaling fights, collect all 18 new badges, 82 greetings, 11 Rosalina standees, 12 instruments, 26 flowers, buy all 148 park decorations, and complete all 74 challenges. And people say this DLC is just a minigame collection? Guys, this is just the single player content I've brought up. This is way more packed than I thought it was going to be. And when I say 8 Koopaling battles, I'm also counting the one at the very beginning where you spam the flower power-up and win in like 5 seconds. Once I got into the park, I was a bit confused on what to do. I wanted to get right into the challenges, but I wasn't able to find the toad. I was running around confused, I smacked some bells around for fun, but nothing was working. It turns out, you're supposed to beat at least one of the Koopaling fights first, so I opted to tackle all of them at once. And I gotta say, these new battles fix the one big problem the original game had. All 7 of them are extremely unique and well put together. I'm not afraid to say it, but I think this is officially my favorite 2D Mario game. Yes, even more than Mario Bros. 3. That's right, pal. You have been dethroned. Idiot. Nailed it. You got Wendy bouncing around as a big nasty fish, Lemmy turns into Pomni and filled me with existential dread with his spike balls, Larry gets addicted to Crystal, Roy becomes the Flying Dutchman, Iggy's just a plant, Morton's a massive puppet, and Ludwig is Laggy Thunder from New Super Mario Bros. DS. While I found all these bosses to be really easy, there's harder versions I'll be tackling later on with a training camp. And speaking of, let's start with that. The training courses are broken down into 5 categories with multiple missions. The closest comparison to this I can think of is the challenges from New Super Mario Bros. U. But I don't think Mario Wonder holds up as well. While there's a lot of missions to play, most of them aren't very hard, and there's no medal system to incentivize replay value. If these missions had gold, silver, and bronze medals just like New Soup U has, I think that would have kept me and everyone else playing for significantly longer. But for what it's worth, there's a lot of variety here. You got your basic avoiding coins or getting all the coin-themed missions, but there's also clearing courses while constantly collecting stars the whole time, or you have to defeat all the enemies on a bouncy ball, or even race across the stage on a roller skate. There's some fun to be had here, but most of it isn't very challenging. As you're doing these missions, you'll collect a new type of item, Bellabel water. Hold on, does that mean the water from the Flower Kingdom is the same as the Bellabel water? Or is this 2 different kinds of waters and they come from different springs? Only one way to find out. Yep. That's good old Bellabel water. You can taste the mercury. This water is used to make the plants grow in the park, and this is how you'll unlock almost everything. I'm talking about the new badges, greetings, instruments, and flowers. Yeah, believe it or not, even flowers! While it's completely random what pops up when watering the plants, the game is very generous with giving you new collectibles and not a bunch of repeats over and over. And you can also water 8 plants at once, so the process isn't super grindy. At least that's what I thought at first. The park decorations are another story. For now, it was time to take out the buffed up bosses. And I'm not gonna lie, these actually do get a little bit harder. Every Koopaling boss has faster attacks and more enemies in the way, and it's kinda surprising. I wish more Mario games had hard mode for the entire thing and not just these missions. Maybe Super Mario Titans will have a hard mode. Yeah, that's right, Super Mario Titans, the not AI 3D Mario League. 40 missions in, I was watering more plants, and I ended up getting all the instruments. This poplin here said we could experience a concert, so I clicked on it, and it's just the credits. Why are we watching the credits already? I'm not even close to done with the challenges, but okay, I guess this is one way to add them in, I suppose. 60 challenges later, I filled up the entire mission book, and hold on a second. Isn't there supposed to be 74? Oh, okay, I see. The special challenges only unlock after beating the first 60. This is where the game actually starts to get hard, but I've got over 800 Bellabel water, so it was time to get gardening. At this point, I've got a ton of flowers and decided to start filling out the park decorations. The way to do this is to use the flowers you've collected as currency, and each decoration requires a different amount and type of flower to build it. The only issue with that is there's 148 of these decorations, so I had nowhere near enough flowers to build them all. And I still had to get some of the greetings as well. I was only getting 1 or 2 per watering cycle. But now, let's move on to the special challenges. I hope they actually are special. I started off with the color switch dungeon. I needed to get every coin in 25 seconds. On my first attempt, I still had 26 coins left. Oh my god. After quite a few attempts, it turns out that you have to basically play this level perfectly. That means no sliding on walls by accident, make every turn efficient, grab every coin without fail, and go as fast as humanly possible. It was very rewarding to finally get this challenge. Now we're talking. See, this is exactly what I was hoping the training camp mode would offer, a legitimate challenge. The next one in Muncher Fields wasn't as hard. You have to fly around in the flapjet and not miss a single enemy or ring boost. The one in Mama Mouthful, though, was tripping me up. I could not for the life of me figure out what the heck I was supposed to do. You got 15 seconds while using the Jet Run badge, and it still didn't seem like anywhere close to enough time considering I have to constantly stop to kill enemies that are in awkward spots. So I ended up skipping it for now. Wavy Ride through the Magma Tube. Now this one requires you to clear the stage with spring feet on with a measly 35 seconds. Yeah, that is not for the faint of heart. Don't even bother with these slow-moving platforms. You're forced to bounce off these tiny buzzy beetles to avoid the lava. Oh god! Because you're using the Spring Feet badge, it makes your jumps really awkward, and you have to rush through it since the time limit is so strict. There were a few attempts where I got to the end and I choked because of, well, just the badge being the badge, or I just didn't have enough time to touch the flagpole.
At the beginning, the only way to maintain decent speed is to bounce off this block, spin jump, barely avoid this platform, and hit this beetle. At the second block, you have to not only go fast, but you have to spin to barely avoid bonking into it, and then somehow hit the beetle afterwards.
It was these two parts that were stumping me, but you kinda have to do it to clear the level in time. Okay, 6 is still doable. It's tight, but it's doable.
Yes! Yes! Holy hell, that's hard.
Look at that, 34.98. I literally got it by 2 frames. While working on that, I also took a second to play the bonus stages for purple coins in order to collect all of Rosalina's standees, because of course she's got to have some just like everyone else. After clearing a few more challenges, some more gardening happened, and I finally got all the greetings. It's nice that so many of these are included, but I'm literally never going to use these. And why not make some cool Mario-themed emojis? The only one here I really like is this moon emoji, because look at him. Look how smug this motherfucker is. But hey, all that was really left was the hardest version of the Koopaling fights. The only difference this time is there's no power-ups and you can't get hit at all. This actually made all the fights a lot more nerve-wracking and required totally different strategies for some of them. With Lemmy, you actually have to carefully aim the bombs with jumps or running, and I struggled with that a bit. Larry was deceptively tough too, considering you can't use the elephant trunk to just break through crystals easily. But the boss I spent the longest time with was Ludwig. Ludwig was a struggle for some reason. I kept dying at the dumbest parts, and his cycle between attacks were feeling longer and longer and longer. I did eventually take him out, but it took an embarrassing 38 minutes. Granted, it could just be fatigue from playing all day too, but at this point, all that's left to do is that weird Mama Mouthful mission. After some more attempts and experimenting, this happened.
If I just go a bit farther, that should be fine. Yes! Yes! Yeah! Yeah. Ooh. Oh my god.
That was hard as hell. My god, these final stages are tight. And you might think, wow, that's it. You beat the game.
Except that I haven't, because I still have a lot of gardening to do. My favorite!
Yeah, I still needed a lot of flowers, and I was gonna need a ton of Bellabel water to get them all. So I was looking around and found that the most difficult stages gave me the most water per clear, so I went with Condart's Away. This particular level takes a little over 30 seconds, and all you have to do here is stay invincible the entire way through. You do need to play well, but I was able to build up muscle memory and grind at the stage for a while. And when I say a while, I mean I spent 2.5 hours playing this. What I'd basically do is clear the stage about 20 or so times, collect the Bellabel water before going over the max amount that I can hold, water the flowers, and then buy as many decorations as I could before I ran out of supplies. This was ridiculously boring, and I'm not sure if there's a faster way to get Bellabel water. I mean, maybe there is, but this solution worked for me, and maybe there's something else. The game's still new. Who knows? So after all that time and effort, I got the last decoration, collected my 7th and final medal, and 100% meet up in Bellabel Park. It took me about 8 hours and 53 minutes, which wasn't as long as I thought it'd be. So believe it or not, the brand new Meetup in Bellabel Park DLC has 21 brand new badges, and I find it to be very interesting just how many there are, and also how many of them are either incredibly broken or just totally not worth using. There's really no in between. They're either incredible badges or they just kind of suck and no one cares whatsoever. Like, no one will really care about these just in general. I'm going to go ahead and go through all these new badges. It's mostly dual badges, which basically takes the older ones and combines them together, which I think is a really great idea. Let's go ahead and get started. So the very first new badge is the All Flower Power. Now, there's already badges that are like this in the original game, where basically any power-up that you pick up from the ground or from like a box or whatever, it'll turn you into the flower. It's pretty useful for what it's worth, but also at the same time, like, it's not really anything all that special. It doesn't really enhance your movement. I think for that reason, this is probably just going to end up being in the C tier, and there's going to be a lot of like C tiers, maybe even a couple Ds and Fs, and only a handful of like S and As. But now let's go ahead and jump to what I think is the absolute best badge in the game, and so ridiculously broken that I don't know how anything can really top it, and that is the parachute cap plus floating high jump. This is an S tier. I don't even have to think about it. It's gonna be the best badge in the game. Here's the thing, like the parachute cap is already an incredibly useful badge because it lets you float and you can also essentially climb up walls for forever. You get infinite jumps. It's awesome. This is that exact same thing, but now your jumps are even better, which means if you're trying to climb up a wall or something along the lines of that, then it requires less jumps to do so. It basically is just the parachute cap, but now your jump is a lot better. Definitely one of the best badges in the game by far. And now for the second best badge, at least in my opinion, is something that's very similar, and that is, again, the parachute cap, but now paired with the boosting spin jump. And I'm going to put this one in S tier as well, but I'm going to put it right below. My personal favorite badge to use in the game is the boosting spin jumps. You might be asking, well, why isn't this higher? Well, the way that it works in this game is a little bit weird. It's actually one of the strangest dual badges because the actions for using the parachute and the boosting spin normally is obviously hitting the R or the ZR button. Here, they kind of force you to use the boosting spin first and then the parachute. You can't technically pick, but I still think that the floating high jump is just a hair bit better just because you have the ability to go higher into the air and you can still use the parachute cap's wall climbing abilities exactly the same. So yeah, I feel like the boosting spin jump is just a tiny bit worse, but it's still an absolutely incredible badge. Now let's move on to one of the weirdest and most interesting combinations, and that is the wall climb jump in grappling vine. You can do your little wall climb, and then you can just grapple onto anything you want. I love this idea. I think this is very fun. The only issue with this badge, and why I can't place it up that high, I'm probably going to throw it in B tier, most of the levels aren't really built around either of these badges. Like, it's basically just the wall climb jump again. It kind of has the same abilities, except it's slightly better. I like using it. There is something that is really satisfying about using the badge, but I do feel like its versatility just isn't that high, and I feel like the combination just doesn't make a lot of sense either. I think a fair B tier is totally fine for this one. And now we've got another combination that is really, really strange, and that is the dolphin kick and the boosting spin jump. I think this is a really, really great badge. Probably not my favorite of all time, but it's definitely up in like the A tier, S tier range. I'm a really big fan of the boosting spin, as you already know. Adding in the ability to be able to swim fast is really nice, but I don't think that really makes it more useful than anything that the parachute cap can really offer. It's a struggle between either an A tier or an S tier. I think I'm going to go ahead and throw this in S. It'll probably end up being like the lowest S that you can get. It's fine. It's honestly just kind of fine. Okay, so next we've got another really great one, and that is the floating high jump and crouching high jump. This one is kind of similar to like everything else in S tier. This is also an S. What's cool about the crouching high jump, with this badge in particular is that the jump you get from crouching is even better now compared to the regular crouching high jump. So I actually think it's probably better than the boosting spin. You can just get so much more height with this. That crouching high jump can come in clutch, so I think we're going to go ahead and throw that one right there. Let's move on to the next one. This one is very similar. This is the timed high jump as well as the floating high jump combined together. I feel like the timed high jump is one people don't really talk about. If you time pushing the jump button as you're hitting the ground, that second jump will be higher. Pairing that with a floating high jump just makes the timed high jump even better. It makes it ridiculously better. So it's another S tier, but the question is just where. And I think I'd probably argue it is slightly better than this one, but not by much. Like, these are all honestly really similar, especially like these three, but I don't know. I don't think anyone's going to top Parachute Cap and Floating High. That one is just ridiculous. But now let's get to our first stinker, and that is going to be coin reward and auto super mushroom. It's just coin reward, and the only difference is when you start a level, you'll at least be a regular size instead of just small. That's really about it. I can't give it much more credit to that, and coin reward is just not that helpful. Like, okay, you step on enemies, you get a few extra coins. Who cares? There's not much reason to ever use this. It's not like a bad badge, but I certainly wouldn't recommend ever using it unless you really want coins, I guess, or if you want to make sure you're big size, normal size, I suppose. But yeah, beyond that, it just kind of sucks. Next, I think this is going to be our first F tier, and that is coin reward and coin magnet. Again, it's just coin reward and then coin magnet so you can grab coins faster. I guess you could argue that the coin magnet is kind of nice because it makes it easier to like grab purple coins if you're trying to get those. Maybe F tier is too harsh. You know what? We'll throw it in low D tier, but I really can't put it up much higher than that. Now we're going to basically run into a bunch of really mediocre badges. Auto Super Mushroom again, as well as add exclamation point blocks. And this is probably like D or a C tier or something. What is really the difference here? Like, what was even the point of making this a dual badge? I mean, like, honestly, sure, you could argue it is helpful because now you have extra platforms to save you from falling. So I'll put it in like C tier, but not much higher than that. This is such a like unexciting badge. And speaking of unexciting badges, we're actually going to blast through the next 5 because here we have Auto Super Mushroom and Elephant Power. And basically all this means is that you're going to start the stage with the elephant suit, and that's it. Like, again, yeah, sure, it's helpful, but it's nothing all that crazy. It doesn't change your movement or anything. So this is going to be another C tier, I'm thinking. I really can't put it any higher than that. And we'll just move on to the next one because it's literally the same thing, except it's a fire flower. I'm not going to really talk about it. I'm just going to rank these now based off of how much I like the abilities. So we'll put it slightly under elephant. Oh my god, it is the same thing again, but now just the bubble flower, and that's it. I'll put it slightly below the elephant. Oh my goodness, it is the drill power-up. Holy crap. You know what? We're going to put this one right above fire. I think that works. And thankfully, there's only one more of these to do, and that is the flower power. Now, I am a pretty big fan of the flower power-up. I guess it's one I haven't really talked about too much just because it's such a new power-up. It's weird. It is a very, very different kind of power-up because you can throw petals, either 1 or 2, depending on what kind of jump you do, and then you get like a little bit of a floaty jump as well as a glide. So it is incredibly helpful. So let's put it like right in the middle. I guess that's how I'd rank these power-ups at this point. We got elephant, then bubble, then flower, drill, fire flower at the very bottom. This one is also just kind of crappy. The add exclamation blocks plus the sensor. It should be noted that, of course, this can be helpful if you're a newbie and you don't really know where all the 10 flower coins are, if you need some help. It is great for that. And then giving you the extra assistance of having those blocks. This is like the ultimate newbie badge. But if you've already played the game a bunch, this is really not helpful. So I don't think I can put this much higher than maybe like, I guess like, I'm going to put it in D tier. I'll put it like the very top of D tier. Oh gosh, this is one of the worst ones. Rhythm jump plus sound off. This one is just a little bit silly. It's an F tier. What are we doing here? Like, yeah, if you jump to the beat of the song, you get a couple coins, and the sound off just gives you the funny sound effect. It is kind of silly that these 2 power-ups were grouped together. I think this actually works pretty well, but in terms of practicality, why the hell would you ever use this? And speaking of why the hell would you ever use this, we have Spring Feet and Invisibility, and obviously this is the worst one, unless you're looking for a challenge, because the idea of playing the entire game invisible and being forced to bounce like this could be a really fun challenge. But obviously, this is supposed to be like an anti-power-up, an anti-badge. I actually really wish that Nintendo went a little bit farther with the idea and maybe gave us like jet run and invisibility, or heck, combine all three of them. That would have been insane. Now we have 3 more, and these badges I think a lot of people end up missing if they don't play the multiplayer. I actually just learned about these because there are multiplayer exclusive badges. So here we have Life Booster. This one is pretty simple. All it really does is it gives you an extra life, and of course it's going to vary a lot in its usefulness, and it'll depend on who you're playing with and like what like mini game that you're playing. When I played it, I found it to be relatively helpful. Not like the craziest badge to use ever. I think we'll throw it in B tier, but probably not much more than that. Even if when you're playing like the multiplayer games, you could also just get a regular badge and you'll probably get more use out of it compared to just like an extra life here. 0 damage, and this one is really broken, but I don't know exactly where I'll put it. It's either going to be A tier or S. You can play the level and you don't take any damage. Now, this can be incredibly helpful in a lot of the different multiplayer mini games, especially if you're like trying to fly through a stage and there's a bunch of enemies on screen. So being able to just not have to worry about them whatsoever is really, really helpful. So I guess we'll throw this in A tier. This is probably a very solid A tier one. And our last one is only used in I think like 2 of the multiplayer games, and that's it. And that is Fruit Lover. When you're holding Baby Yoshi, or if you're using Yoshi, you get an extra point for whatever it is you're eating. So whether you're eating a fruit, an enemy, you get an extra point. I find this to be incredibly helpful. And while it would be nice to have a badge, just being able to get extra points is really, really nice, because a lot of times when you're playing these 2 mini games, fruit are just going to get spammed in front of you. You're going to get some really good luck. So just having the opportunity to score extra points with this badge helps a lot. So I think for that reason, this is going to be at the top of A. This is really all there is to it when it comes to the new badges. It's actually like really hard to look at. It kind of hurts my eyes. Just a bunch of red and green everywhere, and then just, okay, here's randomly some multiplayer badges, and then, oh, okay, there's one normal one that's new, and it's not even that interesting. It's really cool, again, that this game did offer new badges. It is a very fun idea. I just wish that we got a couple of new ones that were like actually new, that actually changed how you play the game. Whatever, I digress. Let me know what you think down below, and I will see y'all later. So, the Mario Bros. Wonder Nintendo Switch 2 Edition Meetup in Bellabel Park, that is a mouthful. That finally came out. I've played through the entire thing at this point, and there are 8 brand new bosses in the game, all the Koopalings. There's technically 7 Koopaling battles, but then there's also one really small one at the very, very beginning of the game. And I thought, what the heck, let's go through all of them and kind of pin down what I think is the best and worst. Now, keep in mind, these are very fresh in my mind. I've only played through all these bosses a few times, so my opinion might change as I play the bosses more and more and some time passes. But anyway, I figured let's just get started, and we'll just jump right into the very first one, which I think a lot of people will kind of overlook as a boss, but it technically is one, and that is the Koopalings boss. And when I say the Koopalings, literally all of them in this clown car specifically. It's one that you do literally as you're booting up Meetup in Bellabel Park for the very first time. There's a little cutscene that plays. All the characters are on a train track, and then these guys are trying to steal the Bellabel flower. And basically all you do is you're going to be in flower form using the brand new flower power-up, and you're just going to smack them with the flower petals, and that's it. There's really not much to it. It's just an introduction to give you an idea of how the projectiles kind of work. With the flower power-up, there's not really any depth to this fight whatsoever. It is literally just to help show you how that power-up works. So I'm honestly going to have to put this in F tier. It's the only F tier boss. I actually like basically all these bosses, and I think these brand new bosses might potentially make this my favorite 2D Mario, because before this came out, Mario 3 was still my favorite, and the only thing really holding this game back from topping it was just the fact that the bosses were kind of bad. But all of these are really, really well put together. So let's go ahead and actually get started on the first proper boss, and this is one that we've seen if you've watched a couple of the trailers and whatnot, and that, of course, is the Wendy boss. And this one is, it might not seem like it's anything all that interesting, but the way that the actual fight works, and the way that all these fights work, actually, are completely unique. It's things that haven't really been done in a Mario game before. There's a couple of parallels here and there. Like, this fight in particular is kind of like the big fish fight in New Super Mario Bros. On DS. I forget the fish's name exactly, but you know the one that I'm talking about. He kind of like bounces around on screen. He'll sometimes like hit the ground, but he's usually just like jumping from water and then back in. This is kind of the same idea, but now you also have these cloud Cheep Cheeps that will kind of like pop up and also try to hit you. And what makes this fight also a little more distinct is that Cheep Cheep, or that, I guess I'm calling Wendy a Cheep Cheep, is that Wendy will basically go through these portals and shoot herself from like the top of the screen to the bottom, from side to side. She'll occasionally grow in size sometimes. And if you're playing the harder versions, which are really the way to best enjoy the bosses, like the first time you play them, you're going to think they're too easy. The second and third versions are much more challenging, which I do appreciate that Nintendo's finally offering a Mario boss to be kind of difficult, which is nice. But yeah, I'm a really big fan of this one. I like that there's a little bit of randomness in terms of like how exactly Cheep Cheep's going to try to attack you. And I think it's a pretty good boss. Is it the most creative boss of all time? Maybe not the most creative. I mean, like I said, we've seen a big fish boss in Mario games before. But I think just the fact that, like, you can tell Nintendo really tried to make this one stand out amongst any other fish-themed boss in the past, I have to give it points for that. And I think the fight itself is also really fun. It really keeps you on your toes, especially when you're playing the version where you can't use any power-ups and you can die in one hit. It can be a little bit stressful trying to avoid all the cloud Cheep Cheeps because they're just going to come flying in, and then Wendy's just going to do whatever the hell she wants. So I think maybe we put this in, I would say probably like a B or an A tier. It's a fun fight. I think just because it's not the most creative fight of all time, I think we'll throw it in B. Maybe I'll move it up to an A later, but for now, I'm pretty happy with a B tier. I think that's pretty good. Okay, next we have Lemmy. And as soon as I saw this, immediately the first thing I thought of was the Amazing Digital Circus theme, because I very recently watched this show. I know it's been a popular show for a couple years on YouTube. If you haven't seen it, go check out the Amazing Digital Circus. It's fantastic. It's really, really good. But yeah, I immediately thought of Pomni when I saw that Lemmy's like a jester. I'm like, okay, well, this is kind of silly. And I really like this fight too. Again, it's not the most creative idea ever, but the way that it's done is really, really fun. So basically, Lemmy, he kind of specializes in like these big like bomb spike balls, and he kind of just like rides on top of them. And the only way that you can attack him at first is when he throws bombs at you, you have to knock the bombs back at him. Now, this isn't too hard when you're playing the version of this level with power-ups, especially like the elephant suit, because you can just like whack the bomb right at Lemmy's bombs and they'll explode one at a time. But if you are playing this, the hardest version without that, and you cannot take any damage and you're the smallest character, that is a lot harder because you have to like very specifically like bounce the bombs towards Lemmy, otherwise they're not going to go anywhere. And the harder version of the level means you got to hit tons of bombs at once before you can actually hit Lemmy one time. And that's actually something I can really appreciate about the bosses in this game, is that these are not just like 3 hits and it's over, because that's just classically how most Mario bosses are. Oh, it's just a few hits, that's it. And yes, I know the Bowser Jr. fights in this game were technically more than 3 hits, but traditionally speaking, that is how Mario bosses have been the past 10 to 15 years. So it is nice to see these bosses take more than the usual 3 hits. And something else that also happens is Lemmy will occasionally turn into a big giant spike ball, and basically he's just gonna like eye you down, and when he sees you, the spike ball will charge towards you. It's really not that hard to avoid. You kind of just, like, what I've always do is I'll just stand in one spot, let the spike ball notice me, and then I'll run to the left or right, and then like you're fine. It's not really much of an obstacle. Where to put this on the tier? I would probably say this is also a B tier fight. I think just because like the version where you can't use any power-ups, you can't use the elephant suit in particular to knock the bombs back, is actually pretty difficult. And I really appreciate that. I think I'm going to put this a little bit above the Wendy one, just because it does take a little bit more coordination to like aim the bomb throws and all of that. So I think probably putting Lemmy right here is pretty good. So, next up, we have Larry. I really like this fight a lot. This is one that I struggled with a lot for whatever reason when I was doing the hardest version where you can't take damage. But basically the idea is that Larry is now a crystal, I guess he's some sort of like crystal version of himself. And you basically take the jewel blocks from Shining Falls. There's a couple levels where you have to like use like the drill to go through all the different jewels and whatever. But the idea here is Larry is going to be encased in a jewel, and usually only one or two sides are safe for you to attack. Usually it's just the top or bottom. Sometimes it's the sides. Usually it's the top or bottom. And the idea is the blocks from the top and bottom are going to squish each other like every few seconds, and you have to navigate your way around to be able to crush Larry. And what I really like about this is, like, there is really no pattern to this. The way that the blocks are, like, laid out and the way that you can, like, break through them is completely different every time. So it actually makes the fight feel very unique every single time because you don't really know exactly how you're going to be able to approach Larry. There's not really a consistent strategy outside of try to not get squished by the blocks, because that's really the biggest obstacle here. Larry's not really much of an obstacle per se. It more or less comes down to just not getting squished. And then on top of that, there is also another phase where basically like these crystal like punching gloves will come in from the sides. You have to jump over them, and you just have to kind of like climb up them to be able to hit Larry, who's just chilling on the top. And I just find the fight to be very, very satisfying to do. Again, extremely difficult when you don't have any power-ups. I think probably using either like Drill or Elephant was the most useful for this fight in particular. But I just really like the concept a lot, and I also appreciate that when you get to like the second half, these bombs come in and they basically just like destroy a bunch of blocks, impeding your progress. So you have to, again, like this fight really is all about like thinking on your toes and just trying to like evolve with the environment around you. So I think for that reason, this is probably an A tier fight. I'm a really big fan of this one. I thought it was a lot of fun. I mean, maybe even an S. Maybe this is even. Honestly, I'm going to put it in S. Yeah, you know what? I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. Now, again, let's keep in mind, none of these bosses are, like, going to break your brain. None of them are, like, super, super crazy. This is not like a Silk Song fight or anything, of course. These are not going to be the most difficult in the world. But I'm kind of treating this as, like, comparing it to all of the other 2D Mario bosses. These are by far some of the best 2D Mario bosses that we've ever had from the franchise. So I'm very, very happy with this one. I don't know, maybe B tier's too harsh on these. I honestly might throw these in 8. Well, I might throw them in 8. I'll have to think about Wendy and Lemmy. But let's not worry about them, because next up, we got to move on to Roy. And Roy is turned into a ghost, which is kind of interesting. Now, of course, we have had ghost fights in the past. You fight Boo in like Super Mario World, just as a example off the top of my head. But I don't think we've ever had like a ghostly Koopaling, as far as I'm aware. And the idea here is that he's using this ghost ship, and what he'll do is he'll kind of attack you with a bunch of different enemies like fish bones and boos, as well as like big blue flame balls. And what you have to do is you get like this vase. I guess you could call it a vase, I suppose. But you use the vase, it shoots out these little like light balls or whatever. I don't know exactly what they're called. But you have to hit them from the background, which is kind of fun. I really like the idea of that. And like I said, I do like the idea of this fight. I do think it's maybe a bit on the easy side. Just because like the boos, the flames, even on like the hardest difficulty, they never really get that much in the way. It's really not that difficult. And the only thing that really changes up with this fight too is that occasionally Roy will bring his ship to you and he's going to try to squish you with it. But there's either 1 to 2 or maybe even like 3 holes each time that you can just like run into and keep yourself alive. So that's kind of the idea with Roy here. But I still find the fight to be really fun. I like the idea of using an exclusive item. I don't think we ever used this item for anything else in this game. But we use whatever this base item is against Roy. And it's just really fun. Like I said, it is easy, but it is a lot of fun. I do enjoy it a lot. So even though it is maybe a bit too simple, I'm still going to put this in A tier just for sheer enjoyment. Just because, like, it is very, very fun to just blast them with the base and, like, weave your way around all the flames and whatnot. So, yeah, I'm a pretty big fan of this one. I think the Roy fight is pretty fun. Okay, next up, we have Iggy. This is another banger. Really, really big fan of this fight. So, the idea for this one is that he turns into a big plant, and what you basically have to do is, obviously, you have to, like, bop his head, but he's going to summon a bunch of piranha plants. And you have to not only avoid those and bounce off of some of them, but you're also going to have to avoid a few different seeds that Iggy will spit out. He has like small seeds and big seeds that you have to avoid. And the fight itself is pretty fun. I like that you have to like really plan and be careful with how high you're jumping. Because when Iggy's like head is at the very top, you're not going to be able to reach him. It's just not going to happen. I guess maybe if you had like a certain badge, sure you could. But if you're playing the hardest version, then yeah, it's you can only hit Iggy when his head is lower to the ground. And what's really cool about the harder variants is the final hit that you do hits a bunch of piranha plants on the top and the bottom. And not only do you have to avoid not touching them for the most part, but they'll also try, some of them will actually try to attack you. So you have to be very weary of that, as well as still avoiding the seeds that Iggy is throwing at you. So this fight in the second half gets very, very intense. Again, intense for Mario standards. Yeah, I think this is, again, it's just another really fun one. I love using the momentum of the jumping off of the piranha plants to hit Iggy. There's just something that just feels very gratifying about that. And I think I'm going to go ahead and put this in A tier. I'm going to throw it a little bit above the Roy one just because it is a little bit more challenging. So yeah, I think that's probably the main reason I'm going to go ahead and put that one there. Let's see what we got left. We have Morton. This is another really, really great boss fight. It's one we saw in the previews. But the idea here is that Morton basically turns into a giant puppet. And what he'll do is he'll take one of his fists and he'll continuously try to smash it to the ground. But as you're doing that, these blocks will pop up. And what you have to do is kind of like navigate his fists, try to have him not hit these blocks, because if he does, he'll destroy them. And you want the blocks to get high enough so that you can reach up and grab the little handles. And once you pull 3 of them, Morton will basically punch himself in the face. And that's the idea for the entire fight. Now, again, the first version you'll play is very, very simple. The second and third ones are a lot more difficult, especially the third one where you have no power-ups. Oh my goodness, that one wasn't necessary. I beat it on the first try, but it took me a while to prevent Morton from continuously destroying the blocks I needed to reach the little handles. So this one might be a little bit of a struggle when you're at the last phase, but it is a lot of fun. I love the idea of having to like manipulate where Morton's fists are smashing into the ground. And it's just a really cool design too. I love this version of Morton. I would really like to see like a skin of this in the next Smash Bros. I doubt that'll happen, but I think that would be really fun. I'm a big fan of this. And something else that the boss does too is that he'll go more into the background. He'll smash the ground a few times. And some huge spike balls will come into play. You just have to kind of jump over them. It's really not much of a hassle whatsoever. But yeah, overall, this is another very, very solid fight. I think this is probably another A tier. Because again, when you get down to the hardest version where you can't take damage, it can be very, very difficult to reach the handles. Like, you have to really, really position yourself in a good way, like in a proper way to be able to reach them. So I think we're going to put this, you know what? Let's put this actually at the very top of A tier. I think that's totally fair. Very top of A tier. I'm pretty happy with that. I think that'll work. And now we're already on the last boss, and that is Ludwig. And I'm not going to say Ludwig because the game kept calling Ludwig Ludwig. Apparently that's how he's pronounced. I don't know how you're supposed to say his name. Let me know how you say Ludwig down below if you'd like. But yeah, Ludwig. Okay, imagine Lackey Thunder from New Super Mario Bros. DS. This is kind of the same idea as that, but it's been enhanced to a much higher degree. This might actually be the best boss in the game, or maybe like the second best boss. I think I still like Larry a little bit more. But yeah, the Ludwig fight is awesome because not only does it kind of take the idea from Lackey Thunder, where he's like shooting lightning into the ground and you have to avoid it, but now there's wind that you have to worry about. And when you're doing this final version, at least for me, this took me a handful of tries to get down, to do the entire fight without getting hit, because Ludwig will basically come in with a bunch of different clones, and he's gonna like go in, he's gonna come in from like left to right or right to left on the screen, and him as well as the clones are gonna zap lightning at different times, and that paired with the wind can make it very, very hard to avoid. So, and that's just like a part of the fight. Then you also have to like climb these clouds, wait for them to basically spawn rain so you can swim up the rain, and then you can finally jump on Ludwig. He also creates up to 5 clones eventually, so it does get a little bit harder as you're going. And then the second phase is really, really cool. You kind of have to climb up like this huge, like just like downpour of rain. You got all the Ludwig clones just shooting lightning at you the whole way. And honestly, how does that not hurt you when you're already in the water? Because like water and electricity, that doesn't really mix well, but whatever. At the very end, Ludwig, I think he grows a little bit bigger. He's shooting out massive bolts of lightning, and again, there's still wind pushing you around, which I'm telling you, it's a bigger factor than you think. It could definitely throw you off. So there's that, and then yeah, like the last phase, he's kind of just like, he's got a bunch of lightning just circling around him, and yeah, it's just a really, really fun fight. The only thing that I didn't like about it, and this is like such a minor thing, is if you die on it a few times like I did, then you get to this point where you're kind of just like waiting for Ludwig's cycles to just finish. It takes a little bit of time for him to go from like cycle to cycle in between all of his attacks, but even still, I love the atmosphere of the fight. Ludwig looks absolutely awesome, and I think this absolutely belongs in S tier. I think this is definitely an S tier boss battle. So, and I think this is, now that I kind of look at this, I think I'm pretty happy with this tier list we've got here. Yeah, Larry at the top, Ludwig right below, and then Morton, Iggy, Roy, Lemmy, Wendy, and then, unfortunately, I mean, again, this barely even counts as a boss, just the Koopalings at F, just kind of funny. But, I mean, you could even argue that Lemmy and Wendy are also A tier. I just think, in terms of just, like, how creative the fights are, they're probably, I don't know, probably still like a B tier for me. But, yeah, I think that's actually pretty much about it. So, let me know what you think below. What do you think the best bosses are in this game? Would love to hear that from you, and I'll see you all later.